which is now just shifted a little bit farther to the east, which means Kane, you are now out of it. This is just the sliver of Cook County that we are continuing to monitor and watch in this warned zone. So for those of you now in parts of just east of Carpenterville, Inverness, South Barrington, Barrington Hills area, I want you to get to your safe place. That would be the lowest level of your home in a basement. We always tell you this. If you don't have a basement, lowest level of your home, away from walls and windows in an interior room. That tornado warning will remain in effect. Still seeing a little bit of a hook on this storm. So what we mean by that is we have the inflow going into this storm. And there's that behind the storm motion, and with that inflow into this storm here, as it's riding along this warm frontal boundary, it allows for that spin. And when we get warm fronts here in northern Illinois, it's been the case. It usually brings out that rotation within the strong thunderstorm. So we are still finding some decent rotation on velocity, a lot of heavy rain, a lot of lightning, and as Larry was just mentioning, we're also seeing some hail. Quarter-inch size hail out of this storm here. So from Dundee over towards South Barrington to the north of 90, right along I-90, this is going to be a mess for those traveling right now, hitting at a bad time for the evening commute. We're at 6 o'clock. A lot of people on the road right now. Flooding, rain even possible out of this system with that hail coming down. Tornado watch will remain in effect until 11 o'clock. And here's that zone, and we can show you the temperatures here. You can see it's a little bit cooler up to the north, 71 Waukegan, O'Hare, 84, and then 90s, very hot and humid off to the south and west. There's that warm front draped across our area. This shower, the cluster of showers and storm, formed just off to the north and west close to Rockford. Showers within about 30 minutes to an hour. Intensified rapidly. We have storm tops up to about 40,000 feet now. This is a supercell thunderstorm now capable of producing a tornado. Larry, I don't know if you're seeing any new information coming in, any reports?
Nothing official from any spotters, but getting word from the National Weather Service that they've upped the hail size on this particular warning to 2-inch size hail. So this thunderstorm is, as we've been talking about, capable of producing a tornado, maybe 2-inch diameter size hail, and also winds outside of where the possible tornado is, upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour. So there's this storm, and it's just covered in lightning when we have the lightning detection mode on. Just a tremendous amount of lightning with the storm. It's the only storm in the area, but it is probably one of the worst storms we've seen in a while in terms of its intensity and how quickly it developed as well. There's the outline of the tornado warning. And what I want to update you on is this is the new outline box of the tornado warning. I'll take the radar off here for a second to give you that outline box. And you can see it covers this entire corner here of the far northwestern sections of Cook County. So Hoffman Estates right now, that's where the rotation is most located at this point. And it's moving east now at about 15 miles per hour. So there's the storm. The tornado warning in effect until 6:45. The severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 7 o'clock this evening. I see we have a camera located there along the tollway. This is I-90 near Belvedere. Near whiteout or rainout conditions here because the rain's coming down so hard. The camera's bouncing around in that wind. So this storm is just a tremendous rain producer, a hail producer, a wind producer, and possibly a tornado producer as well as that storm sliding on through. So let's go back down and look at this closely. So our live Doppler 7 Max radar is really keeping a nice view of this storm, and look at the hook right now. So the intensity of that hook has really increased here in the latest scans. You can see it just wrapping around, and with the motion here of the radar, you can actually pick out that rotation from our live Doppler 7 Max radar. So going in even closer. So this right now is over Hoffman Estates near South Barrington. If you're in South Barrington, Schaumburg, down towards Hanover, right along the tollway here, I-90, and then stretching down south of the I-90, this is the spot where there's a possible tornado at this moment, and you need to be taking your shelter right now at this very second, because this is a tremendously dangerous storm, which is really quickly moving into that area. There's the hail mode again, and let's go look at this. And you can see hail size. Well, the radar's picking up on 1.6 inches size diameter hail. Could be up around 2-inch size hail right now with this storm. Now I want to go to the velocity mode because that's one of the best ways we can pinpoint where that rotation is. And oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so right here, let me go in closer. Right there, just south of I-90, right along 58 and Bartlett Road is where that circulation is. So right in this little spot here, there's I-90. Here's 58. So right in this zone here is where that circulation is located. So Cheryl, the tornado warning continues. And with that radar presentation we're seeing, where we've got that really well-defined hook now, that's kind of concerning what we're seeing on the radar.
Yes, exactly that zone that you were just pointing out, that blinding rain coming down, South Barrington down towards Hanover. This is where we are finding that spin. You can see the green clearly very close to the red. Extremely strong winds within this thunderstorm, and just this is showing us signs of this having some strong rotation. So this is that area that we are concerned about right along I-90 now. Hanover up towards South Barrington and off towards the east. So Schaumburg, you're just out ahead of this, getting the latest scan in now. And there you can see we're still finding a little bit of that hook, that rotation in this area. So let's track this for those of you in the path of this storm. This is hitting a highly populated area. Not good timing. A lot of folks on the road right now. 6:15 Hanover Park. So within the next minute, this storm is on top of you. Want you guys in your safe place. Schaumburg 622, Roselle at 627, and 645 getting closer to Elk Grove. Okay, I believe we are now getting new information in from the National Weather Service. So let me just back up, go back to radar view here. And we have a new tornado warning that has just been issued for this hook echo that we were monitoring here. So a severe thunderstorm still capable of producing a tornado located over Streamwood now. This is moving at about 30 miles per hour. And here you can see that new zone for this tornado warning that is issued and will be in effect until 7:15. So this is slowly moving now to the east-southeast. So from northern Cook County stretching into DuPage, this is in effect all the way to the lakefront, which does include downtown Chicago. So this storm here has the possibility of dropping a tornado, producing a tornado. With that said, extremely high winds, also large hail, damaging winds and hail, not out of the question, and heavy rain with this system. Larry, I know you're monitoring the new warning that's coming in. What are you seeing?
Report we're getting from storm spotters right now was a rotating wall cloud near Big Timber, which is just west of Randall Road and Elgin. And the current track of that rotation will take it across Streamwood, Schaumburg, Elk Grove Village, and then very close to O'Hare over the next about 15 to 20 minutes or so. So this storm is producing a rotating wall cloud. And what does that mean? Well, it means that at the lowest base of this thunderstorm, that the base is spinning. So that entire base, which we can pick out on the radar, which is right here, is rotating. Our spotters are confirming that. That doesn't mean there's a tornado dropping out of that rotating base, but when we see a rotation base at the low levels of the cloud, that can sometimes be a precursor to a tornado dropping out at really any moment. So when we see it on the radar and we're getting those confirmations, and I do not like the look of this storm right here with this intense rotation that's starting to show up on the radar, and also this little ball just south of it as well. That really indicates a pretty clear hook. And we talk about that hook, it's that little appendage that hangs down. That's the spot where the storm is rotating and possibly producing a tornado. So all these reports that we're getting right now as it's moving over Streamwood, heading into Hanover Park and Roselle, is very, very concerning. In fact, just talking with the Weather Service, they're very concerned as much as we are with this particular storm. This one does not look good at all. So let's go in close here and tell you that if you're in Hanover Park right now, over towards Schaumburg, Roselle, this is about as a serious situation as we can have when it comes to a tornado warning. We don't have it confirmed on the ground, but the latest scans from the radar are indicating that this is getting a stronger rotation to it. So we really want you to take this one seriously and get into that safe room. We got a small interior room away from windows, exterior walls. Basements are obviously best to let this storm pass on by. And as we switch over to velocity mode, just want to take a peek at this too. Yeah, you can still see those greens and reds right next to each other. Really pretty much over Streamwood, heading into Hanover Park and Roselle right now. So there's Hanover Park. So this is about ready to move into Hanover Park. Right there, you can see that circulation really over top of it right now. and it's moving down to the north or to the south and the east from the northwest. So let me back out a second here because we show you the overview of the storm, and this is the area that's rotating. So what's happening is the air is rising up right in this location, and then it's creating this huge thunderstorm which spreads all the way up towards Libertyville, all the way out towards Mount Prospect with heavy rain, hail, and lots of lightning here, and also gusty winds. But Cheryl, as we've been talking about, that tornado threat looks like it's kind of getting a little bit worse here right over the Streamwood area and Hanover Park at this point.
Yeah, I want everyone to take this storm seriously right now. This is a serious tornado warning that has been issued for parts of our area. If you're under the warning, if you're hearing the sirens, I want you to get to your safe place. And a lot of you are out ahead of this storm in the warning zone as well, because it does include Chicago all the way to the lakefront, dropping off to the south and west. So there is some time before the storm reaches the lakefront. But with that said, if you're getting the alert, you're getting the warning, that means this storm is heading in your direction. You need to be prepared, and you need to get to your safe place. Lowest level of your home in a basement. We do have this tornado warning in effect, which stretches across Cook County, the corner here, the northeast corner of DuPage County into Cook County, and this remains in effect until 7:15. So from Schaumburg, just to give you a little bit of a wider, broader view, Schaumburg down towards Bloomingdale, over towards Niles, all the way to Wrigley, Oak Park, downtown Chicago, and then over towards or down towards Stickney, just south of the city, is the area that we have this warning in place for. So as we zoom in closer, where we're seeing the most dangerous weather at this point in time is from Palatine stretching down towards Schaumburg, but we've been noticing the rotation, tight rotation within this thunderstorm that has developed over the past 30 minutes. This storm really has intensified. It is latched on to the frontal boundary, draped across the area, allowing it to pick up on the rotation and spin. Storm tops going up high as well. Extremely heavy rain, downpours, and the potential here of this storm to produce a tornado. National Weather Service is monitoring this rotation as well very closely. They're also concerned about this storm, so this is something we're going to continue to update you on. This is a time where a lot of folks are out on the road for the evening commute. This is impacting areas and highways like I-90 and 290. This is getting very close to 290 now. So from Hanover down towards Bartlett, the worst of it is now beginning to press to the east of you, out ahead, Schaumburg down towards Roselle. You guys need to be in your safe place, because this is that zone right along 390 here is where we're finding that hook and the potential of rotation within this thunderstorm. So I want to get over back to velocity for you here. We're still finding some very tight velocity within this storm as it's moving to the east from Schaumburg down towards Roselle. But with that said, even though we're seeing the tight rotation within this storm, whether it's dropping a tornado or not, or it does eventually, winds within this thunderstorm are extremely strong. We can actually take a look at the scan here. You can see that scan going through. We can query our velocity here and get you some numbers. So we're finding wind speeds potentially up where that scan is happening, close to about 50 to 60 miles per hour. That means this thunderstorm, regardless whether it's spinning and drops down a tornado or not, damaging winds possible within the core of this storm where we're finding the worst of the weather. Those wind speeds could be strong and potentially damaging as this storm blossoms and continues to intensify and works its way farther off to the east. So that tornado warning will remain in effect until 7:15. We have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 7 p.m. Right now, the strongest rotation is over Schaumburg and Roselle. No confirmed tornado at this point, which is what we like to hear and see at this point in time. But with that said, I know that we have a lot of people out there monitoring this storm closely. We are keeping in contact, seeing what's happening, streaming in here on our platforms, as well as in constant communication with the National Weather Service as we continue to dissect this system. But what we are finding here is, I would say with the latest scan, perhaps maybe looking a little bit broader in terms of that rotation. But right now, it's on top of Schaumburg as we speak. Roselle and Schaumburg, you're where we need you to be in that safe place. Now is that time, because the worst of this storm is passing over your area where we are finding the potential of rotation. With that said, just up to the north, you're getting hit very hard as well with extremely heavy rain and a lot of lightning over towards Mount Prospect and Elk Grove. You're just out ahead of this system down towards Wooddale. So anyone here, I-90, 290, need to get into that safe place as well. Hopefully folks on the road are staying safe, because I know this rain is coming down fast and very heavy, which means there's likely some ponding on area roads, even some isolated flooding out of this storm. The rain rates are likely extremely high as well. But the main concern right now will be that tornado threat with this storm, as this storm has blossomed. And let me just dissect this. I did this just a few minutes ago. I want to take you into the center of this storm, and we are finding those storm tops. I mean, this is impressive, Larry. This started off as just a few showers, latched onto that warm front, and boom, took off. We have storm tops up to about 50,000 feet now, and you can see just to the east of Hanover there's that inflow and that notch that we're picking up as we dissect this storm. So again, something to note, there's definitely notable rotation within this thunderstorm. So strong rotation over Schaumburg right now. It will continue to work its way to the east-southeast in the zone. For everyone under this tornado warning, please take necessary precautions, be alert, and if you're under this warning, we want you to get to your safe place until this storm successfully moves its way off to the east. It's not moving that quickly either. To the east-southeast at about 15 miles per hour. So as we track this for you, moving off to the east-southeast, yep, Larry's getting the information.
We just got a picture in from Schaumburg as well.
Great.
If we have that picture, let's go ahead and put that picture up too.
Awesome.
I haven't seen it yet. I know you haven't seen it yet, but we just got word that we got a picture of coming in. So what that is, that's the low cloud base, the wall cloud. It looks kind of circular if you look at the broad picture. That whole thing is rotating, and that's what prompted the tornado warning as this storm was moving over Schaumburg. That rotation right now, as we've been talking about, is moving over Roselle and even Schaumburg right now. But if you're in Itasca, Bloomingdale, Elk Grove Village, Wooddale, Addison, you need to be taking your tornado precautions right now, because what you see on that picture is pretty much moving right over top of you. And so far, at least I'm hoping this is the case, we've got no reports of any touchdowns from that rotating wall cloud. We're keeping an eye on it. We've got another live picture here from downtown looking to the north. You can see the dark skies on the north side of the city. Actually, it's up there. You can see it there. It's really very dark up there to the north with that thunderstorm. And that's this storm here that's now drifting towards the city. But the rotation center is still right here moving over Roselle, and it's kind of gotten a little bit disorganized. It's not as really well defined as it was, say, about 5-10 minutes ago, and Cheryl kind of alluded to that too a second ago. The rotation scans have kind of weakened just a tiny bit, and we'll take whatever we can get in this situation, but there is still a little hook there, still a little notch showing up on the radar right over Roselle, getting close to Bloomingdale and Itasca right now, and it's kind of maybe going through a cycle here where it's kind of revamping that updraft and that upflow of the wind up into the atmosphere. So we've got a couple of notches here. There's one there, there's one here, and there may be another one trying to develop down towards Bloomingdale. These big monster supercell thunderstorms go through cycles. They kind of pulse up, they get very intense, and then they kind of lose that intensity just a bit, then they go back up. Now I have some video coming in from Schaumburg as well. So let's take a peek at this. Let's look at what we're seeing here. So this is the underbelly of that beast there that's coming through. And if you look closely, I can see a little bit of rotation there. It's certainly very ugly looking cloud cover. And you can see the winds are just whipping around up there just above the ground. And that's an ominous looking cloud as well. That looks like the low base of that wall cloud that we were showing you a second ago. So, boy, this is a nasty storm right now. And if you're in it, you can see the rain coming down. And if you got a peek of the clouds before the storm came in, these clouds are just really nasty looking clouds. We have that rotation center, and as Cheryl was mentioning, the tornado warning runs all the way towards downtown at this point. We continue the tornado warning until 7:15. So there it's flashing on the screen. So that little spot right there is the rotation. This is the zone that's under the tornado warning, which runs all the way from northeastern DuPage County all the way to the city here in Cook County. And there is a tremendous amount of rain, some large hail coming down within the storm itself, and also some very high winds. Got another camera for you here. This is west of Bartlett on I-90. You can see the rain coming down. Not as intense as it was earlier along I-90 up a little bit to the west of, say, Schaumburg, but boy, it is still coming down pretty hard right now across parts of DuPage and parts of Cook County as well. Cheryl, right now, I got to show you this lightning because the intensity of the lightning is just tremendous. We've been counting these lightning strikes, and let me take off the little banners there and give you the idea of how many lightning strikes we've seen. In just the past 5 minutes, we're looking at a count of about 515 cloud to ground lightning strikes. So a tremendous amount of lightning. Disregard the precipitation rate. I just wanted to count the lightning strikes here, and it is a tremendous amount of lightning with this storm in northern Cook County. This is the only storm we have. We've got a tornado watch until 11 o'clock this evening. It's iffy if we'll get any more storms, but this one right here is certainly the most intense. And when you look at that warm front, Cheryl, it is hot and sticky south of that storm.
Yeah, and we were sitting around all day watching the storm development, and other cities and places were getting hit hard. We knew we were in the zone and the potential for some strong storms to develop this afternoon and this evening. And right now, that's exactly what we're seeing, all sparked by this warm front that is draped across the area. It is a little bit cooler up to the north, but we still do have this tornado warning in effect until 7:15. The area has closed in a little bit, but still parts of DuPage up towards northern Cook down into the city limits off to the south, still in this zone. So just now moving to the east of Schaumburg, it's still raining really hard where you are, but you're just getting out of that rotation area within this thunderstorm. So to the east, we're talking Roselle, Bloomingdale, Elk Grove Village, you're next up as well. Itasca, Bensonville, Addison. If I'm saying your city, you're just out ahead of what we're watching here, the potential of some rotation within this storm that's going to continue to move its way to the east and riding right along I-90 there. So also out ahead of this, we have Rosemont, we have Park Ridge, we have Norridge. These are highly populated cities in our area. Franklin Park, Northlake, Elmwood Park, Melrose Park, Bellwood. If I'm saying your city, that means you're under this warning, and I want you to be alert. Stay with us. We're going to continue to monitor this situation as it moves in. We're getting reports of numerous large and small tree limbs down along Tanglewood Drive. So this is very close to the Schaumburg area. So reports of wind damage, that's happening. Regardless of whether a tornado touches down or not, this storm is capable of producing extremely high damaging winds. So Oak Park, and then we have Cicero, Chicago, Stickney, Forest View, Lyons, Brookfield, LaGrange, Westchester, Broadview, Bellwood, Elmhurst, Northlake, Berkeley. All of these cities right now, you're out ahead of this storm that is going to continue to work its way to the east. I can say that the hook that we were finding about 10 to 15 minutes ago, that doesn't look as defined now. So that is some good news. But with that said, we still have the tornado warning on our map in our area until 7:15 at this point in time. So we're getting reports of wind damage within this storm. We're getting reports of extremely heavy rain, and that's evident as our radar scans here from Wheeling, Mount Prospect, and Elk Grove stretching back towards Schaumburg. Very heavy rain right now along I-90. So this is likely causing big issues on I-90. Traveling this evening, 6:30. I'm sure hopefully most of you are home safe from work, but I know a lot of people getting impacted by this as well. 294 over towards 94 getting hit as well. So this is a strong thunderstorm, again capable still of producing a tornado. No confirmed tornado touchdowns out of this system, but something that we are monitoring closely. Let me just put this into motion so I can evaluate here the movement and take a look at that hook just a little bit better as we look over the past 2 hours. You can kind of see the evolution of this storm and a little bit wobbly. When we see that wobble, yep.
The National Weather Service suggests that the tornado could be possibly directly developing over Roselle at this moment, just north of Bloomingdale. So this is just an updated communication we have with the National Weather Service. So right now, the data suggests from the radar at O'Hare, so we're tapping into the O'Hare radar, which is the terminal radar, suggesting that a tornado is forming right now over Roselle. And this is a picture from Roselle along the tollway, along I-90 here. And you can see the rain coming down. It's coming down hard where the tires from the cars are splashing up because of the intensity of the rain. I don't have a good grasp on the wind speeds right there at that particular location, but you can kind of see the waves of rain coming across the picture here. Keep that picture with us here. I will tell you, if you're in Roselle right now, you need to be in that safe room. Let this storm pass by. If you're in Bloomingdale, Schaumburg, Itasca, Addison right now, Be in that safe room. Let this storm pass. This is pretty dangerous. And when the National Weather Service was looking at the terminal radar from O'Hare, that's the radar the airport uses to track planes, but it also helps us with weather data too. And because this storm is getting so close to O'Hare, we're getting some really low level data coming in from that O'Hare radar. And it's suggesting that right here over Roselle and near Wooddale and Itasca right now, that's the spot where we've got that possibility of a tornado developing. In fact, that's a little bit ahead of it right back here in this general spot right here. There's actually two little locations right near Itasca and then back towards Roselle and then back over towards Wooddale as well. There's a couple of spots here that are still indicating the possibility of a tornado. And when the terminal radar picks this up, obviously we're kind of alert to this and what we're seeing, but that kind of heightens the severity of this warning here at this point. We're also seeing that at O'Hare right now, I'm just looking at some of the information coming in, we're getting winds gusting over 45 miles per hour. And right now it's not raining at O'Hare. It's just a little bit farther to the south and west of O'Hare, or very close to O'Hare, it's starting to rain. But nonetheless, there's a very high amount of wind coming into this storm right now. We got another live picture. I bring you this as Storm Tracker Live on the Edens, driving through some of that driving, pounding rain that's coming down within the storm. And again, this is pretty far away from the rotation center up along the Edens, but that rain is very intense from really over here towards, say, Schaumburg, all the way to the lake. It's just intense rainfall with tremendous amount of lightnings. And there's the latest scan on the radar. And that little notch right there, boy, that does not look good at all because it still has that rotation center pointed out here. And we were talking about how this was going through cycles. It looks like it's ramping back up again. So when we go to the velocity data, yep, right over Wooddale, that's where we've got these greens and reds right next to each other. So if you're in the Wooddale area, Itasca, Addison, that's the spot now where this rotation center is moving over. So the terminal radar from O'Hare picked it up when it was over Roselle. Now it's over Itasca, over towards Wooddale, and now stretching off towards the east. Pretty close to Elk Grove Village as well. That's the spot here where we're really, really watching this rotation. I'm going to go over to another velocity mode here. And we were talking about the winds within the storm. Check this out. So here's a look at the wind speeds that the radar is detecting away from that rotation. Winds upwards of 60 miles per hour here, all the way towards Des Plaines, which is north of where the circulation is. So we've got several things happening now. Tornado threat, high wind threat, large hail threat, heavy rain threat, and also a tremendous amount of lightning. Looking at that hail size, and Cheryl, we were talking about those hailstones possibly being up to maybe 2-inch in diameter. Let's take a peek at what we're seeing now. So we got hail size, at least according to the radar, about an inch, inch and a half or so in hail size here from near Schaumburg over towards Mount Prospect and near Bensonville as well. So boy, this is a monster storm and it's marching its way slowly to the south and east here, now moving into northeastern DuPage County and parts of Cook County. But look at it on the radar, all that lightning and this really intense supercell thunderstorm, Cheryl, moving right through. And I know you got the velocity data pulled up. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I'm just continuing to monitor the velocity here as we've been looking at this storm over the past hour and still showing signs of some tight rotation. And we were noticing and in chats with the National Weather Service saying that the possibility of a tornado being produced very close to Roselle and between Roselle and Itasca. And that's where we are finding the rotation. So here's what I am looking at right now. You can see this little cluster here, and that's the velocity and that's the spin now. And that's going to continue to work its way towards Itasca, which means if you're in this area, you definitely need to be in your safe place. Regardless, winds up to 60 to 70 miles per hour within this storm. So I just want to take you in a little bit closer. There you can see 290, 355 intersecting at this region. Take you in a little bit closer, Medina, Norwood. This is where we're finding that tight rotation within this storm crossing over 290 as it heads to the east. So as we slowly move this, you can see Itasca out ahead of this. You can even, as we zoom in close to street names, there's Arlington Heights Road, Bloomingdale Road, East Pierce Road. These are highly populated areas. North Prospect Ave, Wooddale, you're out ahead of this. Foster Ave, North Wooddale Road here. So around the Wooddale area, moving even farther to the east, Bensonville in the path of this storm. So there is a reason here to be concerned. We're still also finding a hook being picked up within this supercell thunderstorm. So this is on top of Itasca, moving to the east. You can see Bensonville. You're under this warning as well, and you're in that warned zone. We have no reports of a tornado touchdown. Good news. However, with that said, we're still finding signs of some very tight, strong rotation within this storm. Regardless, this is a powerful storm, a beast. We are looking at very heavy rain, winds upwards of 60 miles per hour. Storm reports coming in of trees down, wind damage coming out of this storm as well, and extremely heavy rain from Wheeling down towards northeast DuPage, and then for all of northern Cook County, Northfield, Evanston. This storm is just going to continue to move its way to the east and do a number in terms of rainfall as well as the high gusty winds. So as we look at this storm and track it for you, moving to the east southeast at about 15 to 20 miles per hour, displaying 639, knocking at your door, Niles 651, Evanston getting closer to you at about 709. Let's not forget that this tornado warning remains in effect until 7:15. So getting closer to the lakefront downtown Chicago, where we are finding that spin within this storm closer to about 7:15, 7:25. So we'll see if this storm still holds itself together as we go into the next 30 to 45 minutes. As we take a look at velocity yet again, I just want to keep my eyes here as we continue to monitor and watch the rotation within this thunderstorm.
And Cheryl, I just got word that Metro UP North line has been canceled service because of the storm.
Okay.
Suspended, sorry, canceled is not the right word. Suspended here their service up through the northwest suburbs because of this thunderstorm. We've also getting word that the rotation is over the Medina area, and that's going to be moving right over towards Itasca as we speak, and also over towards the Wooddale area. We've been mentioning that little spot with the rotation centers. I've been working with the Weather Service here to talk about those location centers, and it's a pretty large circulation right now. And as you look at it on the radar right about there, and I'll go in closer so you can see it more closely, and it's getting close now to the county line as we move over into Cook County, this broad area right here. So there's a little spot here and then a little spot here, and this entire zone is rotating right now within this thunderstorm, and this is where the possibility of a tornado exists dropping out of this storm. And when we go to the velocity data, we'll take a peek at that. I'm going to look at a couple different velocity data from several different radars here, and there's still this spot right here which is rolling out of the Itasca and Medina area just north of Addison. Oh, we've got video coming in here of the okay, so this is Medina and Itasca just a few moments ago. Look at the wind-driven rain that's just flowing right across that yard. Doesn't look like the winds in this particular video are terribly intense, because you can just look at the trees and see that they're not bent over or anything like that. Certainly it's obviously very gusty, but not the intense winds that we're seeing in parts of this thunderstorm. So when we go back to the radar data, this again is the spot, and we can see the radar sweep coming on through. A couple of notches right there on that south side of that storm, which is where that rotation we've been tracking for the past, it's been a good 40, almost 45 minutes or so, maybe 50 minutes, where we've had tornado warnings active with this particular storm. And we're getting the edge of that storm moving towards Elmwood Park and over Wrigley Field right now. We're getting the rain coming down. This very intense rain from Elk Grove Village to Niles up towards Northbrook and Northfield over towards Wheeling as well. Just a tremendous amount of rain here. Also the threat for some very high winds. This thunderstorm is one of those classic supercell thunderstorms where those cloud tops go extremely high up in the atmosphere. We're talking upwards of 50,000 feet with this thunderstorm. So it is a very intense thunderstorm that blossoms clear up to the top of the atmosphere with the storm itself. Okay, so here's I-90, and was this River Road? Yep, I-90 and River Road. You can see look at the lightning flashes there. intense rain coming down in this particular spot. The camera's shaking, so you can see it's pretty gusty there with that particular spot of the thunderstorm. We're getting these views from the tollway camera system and also from some of you out there who are sending us those pictures and video. Obviously, we want you to be safe and be in your safe room. We do appreciate the pictures. That's the least of our concern. We want you to be safe and be in that safe room when these systems come on through. All right, got an update on the tornado warning. The tornado is right now possibly located over Franklin Park, moving southeast at 30 miles per hour. So this is the updated warning coming in from the National Weather Service. You can see the red box, the red outline here, that's flashing on the map. That's the updated alert we're getting from the National Weather Service. And right now over Franklin Park is where this possible tornado is located. That's just south of O'Hare. So right there, I'll take you in, there's North Lake and there's Franklin Park. So right there in that little notch, and we were tracking it, that's that spot where that rotation is located. If you're in North Lake, Schiller Park, Franklin Park, just to the east of there, you need to be in your tornado safe room at this point. I'm assuming right now, and I could bet you money that everybody at O'Hare right now is in those tornado shelters and seeking safe spots there at O'Hare as that circulation is passing just to the south of O'Hare. It looks like it's just crossing over 294, the tri-state right now. There's a lot of construction. I know if you've been up this way, you might have sat in traffic right here along I-294 where they've got this all torn up right now. But there's that circulation right over North Lake and heading into Franklin Park as we speak. If we look at the velocity data, let's take a peek at that. Because right there, yeah, it's there. You got the brighter shades of red and the greens right here. They're kind of close together. It's not super well confirmed, but when you look at that radar presentation where you still have that pretty well-defined hook, yeah, it tells you there's something going on here that's very not good and kind of suspicious as well. I'm going to look at another radar here as well, and there you can see that little hook right there, just right there over North Lake and Franklin Park. So Cheryl, that circulation is still hanging on. So far, we've gotten reports of some tree limbs down, but at least so far, and boy, we're keeping our fingers crossed, that's the worst that we get.
100%, and no videos or photos of or reports of storm spotters out there confirming a tornado touchdown. Definitely some lowering of clouds within this storm as it rotates broadly as the storm continues to move to the east. And checking in with the National Weather Service just now, also confirming that this rotation is broadening a bit and we're finding it more aloft. Less tight rotation at the surface is what that means. With that said, this storm has been capable of producing a tornado, and as it continues to move to the east, there is still the potential that this could quickly, okay, we're going to take a video. This is I-90 and River Road. This is a live picture. You can see the heavy rain coming down there. Cars moving okay. With that said, traveling tonight through this system on a lot of our major highways is going to be a slow go. Looking at the background there, you can see the lightning. Gosh, you can almost see some very strong wind. Are you seeing a little bit of some rotation within this video coming in, Larry? What are you seeing? It's a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't really well defined. If we can go back to that picture.
Can we go back to that video?
Yeah,
please?
let's go back to that picture because you're right. There was certainly, yeah, tough to tell.
Tough to tell. Might just be a little bit of a camera effect there as well.
Sure. I was just looking at those wind speeds, and right now we're getting gusts to 51 miles per hour downtown here at the lakefront, and also a gust to 51 miles per hour at O'Hare. And so that circulation center is just south of O'Hare right now, but even away from that storm, the winds are picking up. And look at the waves right there on Lake Michigan. They're kind of blowing away from the Adler Planetarium and away from the shed. This camera is located on the shed, and you can see the gust of the winds blowing that water out from inside the break wall there, lifting northward. And that's those strong south winds rushing into that storm. That's the fuel for this thunderstorm. If you've been on the south side of the city, Midway to the southwest suburbs, it has been incredibly hot and incredibly humid. If you're on the North Shore up into Lake County, you've been in the 70s all day. But to the south of us, it's felt like it's in the hundreds all afternoon. And that warm, soupy air is flowing into this thunderstorm right now. Oh, look at there. Got a gust to 84 miles per hour right now at O'Hare. Just came in a second ago. So this is away real close to the circulation center, but it's not where the tornado is located. And look at downtown. I think that's the same number here. So disregard that 84 at the lakefront. That's a repeat of the O'Hare number. But right there at O'Hare is where we're getting those very high winds from this storm. And the actual circulation that we've been tracking is just to the south and southeast now of O'Hare. So that gust of wind that's occurring is occurring in this area right away from the circulation. So right down here near Franklin Park is the circulation, but in this area here, and you can kind of make out where O'Hare is. There's the Tri-State, there's the Kennedy coming in to O'Hare, and there's the O'Hare entrance highway there that comes in off the interstates heading into the terminals. So there's O'Hare. There's the circulation. So away from that circulation, we're getting winds to 84 miles per hour. We got a view of Wrigley Field right now, a video actually a few moments ago, because it's certainly raining much harder now at Wrigley than what this video is showing. But you can see they've obviously delayed the game, and I don't know if they've canceled it yet. I haven't gotten word, but they're certainly on a rain delay right now at Wrigley. So right now we're watching the rotation now over Melrose Park. So Franklin Park, over towards Melrose Park, down towards Maywood, River Forest, Elwood Park. That's the spot now where this rotation is trying to strengthen again as it's moving to the south and to the east. So those areas right now, you need to be taking your tornado precaution and let that circulation pass overhead. Cheryl, it's going through one of those cycles again where it looks like it's kind of ramping back up.
And regardless, the 84-mile-per-hour wind gust at O'Hare right now is incredible coming out of this thunderstorm. So definitely impacts in terms of traveling. You just mentioned the Cubs game happening at 7. That's going to most likely be delayed here until this storm system gets out of here, and hopefully everyone is seeking shelter in their safe place and following the protocol with the tornado warning in place, and it remains in place until 7:15. This is still a powerful storm. Checking in with the National Weather Service, we're still finding that rotation, and it continues to cycle through, and it's along a warm front. And I was started to talk about this a little bit earlier. If I put this storm and zoom out just a little bit and I put this into motion over the last 2 hours, you can, let me just take off the lightning so you can actually see the shape and the nature of the storm as it rolls off to the east. You can almost find a little bit of a wobble, and that's because it's riding along a warm front, a boundary. So it's latching on there, and what that does, it allows for that storm to pick up on speed, because where we have that frontal boundary, winds are converging at different levels at different speeds. So that allows for that storm to pick up on the rotation, root itself along the boundary, and cycle through over and over, which means if it's finding rotation for 5-10 minutes and then it lets up a little bit, it's going to move to the east. It's still hooked onto that boundary, which means it can still find itself producing more rotation. So it goes in cycles, broadening out, tightening the rotation again. So we still have this tornado warning in effect until 7:15. And as we zoom on into the areas where we will be finding the potential of that tornado touchdown, this is where you really need to get to your safe place, lowest level of your home or a basement. Franklin Park, Melrose Park, Maywood, Elmwood Park, Oak Park, right along 290. This is heading to the east, so it's basically right in between, crossing over 294 between 290 and I-90. So Norridge down towards Elmwood Park, we're still finding this inflow, this little notch here, which means we're still finding rotation within this storm, and this has been holding itself together. Boy, it's been a strong thunderstorm for at least the past hour to 2 hours. And we're also getting reports of a lot of trees down and limbs snapped and some wind damage in parts of the area as well. And that is not surprising, because we just had a report of an 84-mile-per-hour wind gust picked up at O'Hare. So that's, the rotation is just south of O'Hare, and Larry was just showing you that. But again, it's this area where we could potentially see that rotation tighten, and it could quickly drop down a tornado at any point in time. We can't rule out that.
Yeah, that's the old Hancock building.
This is a downtown video right now looking north. We are seeing the live camera picking up on those clouds, the ominous skies, a lot of lightning, extremely heavy rain coming down, a slow go there on Lakeshore Drive, isolated flooding possible out of this storm, extremely heavy rain. But there you can see just the ominous view and the lightning that's continuing to happen within this thunderstorm as it slowly works its way off to the east. Just getting word in from the National Weather Service, tornado may be developing. Again, this is the area that we were just talking about, just south of Melrose Park. So we got you on the map right now, directly over Maywood, heading to the southeast toward Broadview and North Riverside. If I'm saying your city, if you're hearing your city, if you're in the warning zone, I want you to get to your safe place. So right around Melrose Park and Maywood, this is exactly where we're finding that rotation. We've been talking about this hook, this notch that's been evident on this storm now for at least the past 30 to 45 minutes to an hour. So Maywood, Washington Boulevard, South 9th Street, South 5th Avenue, right on Madison, Forest Park. You are in the path of this storm. You need to get to your safe place. Washington Boulevard is here. There's River Forest and then Oak Park just off to the east. Let's slowly move our way a little bit farther to the east so you know Cheryl, the path of this.
This is coming right over the Eisenhower right now.
Right now, right on 290, yes.
Between about 171, the avenues, First Avenue, Des Plaines Avenue, even out towards Manheim. If you're between Manheim and Harlem, if you're in that zone from the Eisenhower, you need to be in your safe room right now and let this possible tornado pass overhead. It's really quite intense when you look at the velocity data. There it is over Melrose Park and Maywood right now. That's that circulation that's drifting southward. The rotation center, and just talking with the National Weather Service, it's developing just south of Melrose Park, directly over Maywood, heading south-southeast towards Broadview and North Riverside. So if you're in this zone right here, and there's the Eisenhower, here's 43, there's 171. So this little spot right here is where that rotation is located, and it's drifting pretty quickly to the south. We got a picture again right now looking over the city and the dark clouds coming in. This is the IIT camera along the Dan Ryan looking to the north. You can see the dark skies closing in on downtown, but again, the circulation center where the tornado is possibly located is out here towards the west of downtown, riding right along the Eisenhower is the leading edge of that storm. I'm going to switch over to a different radar mode here, and there you can see it right there. There's the hook. It's a better presentation on this particular radar. The new updated tornado warning is flashing on the screen. There's that spot, and it is diving southeastward here. So it's going to come across the Eisenhower in the next few moments around Maywood and then stretching southward to right over Forest Park. So if you're in that zone here, right along the Eisenhower over from Oak. Oh, there's the updated scan. This is what we wanted to see. So right along 43 right now, stretching over towards Roosevelt Road, up towards, say, Lake Street and Oak Park, right over Forest Park right now. That's that rotation center just crossing the Eisenhower as we speak. So we're getting updates right now. Continue to update the potential of a tornado moving across Forest Park, and it's moving southeast at 30 miles per hour. So as we track this to the south and east, we'll get a little track on this, and it'll be getting closer towards Cicero, maybe moving over Midway, stretching down over towards just to the east of the Brookfield area. That's the spot here. So this is the near west and southwest suburbs where this rotation will be tracking over in the next few minutes. I'm going to track the circulation center and tell you that it'll be reaching Cicero at about 7 o'clock, Stickney at 7:01, Midway at about 7:06, and there you can see Berwyn here in the next couple of minutes as well. That's the circulation center where we're tracking the possible tornado. Got a report from Midway. They're tracking this as well, rotating wall cloud. They can see it about 7 miles to the northwest of Midway, and so a lot of people are spotting this, and so far so good, and no reports of any touchdowns from this storm. But when we look at it on the radar presentation, there's certainly the high probability of very high winds like we've seen so far, and that possibility of maybe a tornado touchdown. And this storm, if you recall, started way back here in Boone County, and what it's been doing, it's been riding right along this warm front. And as it continues to move southeast, it's continuing to move along that warm front where we've got those real hot and sticky temperatures just south of the front and obviously much cooler north of the front. So it'll continue to dive southeastward here through central Cook County. And if you're in southern Cook County, this storm is heading in your general direction as well. So it's the only storm we have on the radar right now, but it is an intense supercell thunderstorm producing a tremendous amount of lightning diving to the south and to the east. Let me put it in motion and check out this. So you can see its motion here. It's going to move right through Cook County, drifting southeastward over the next 30 minutes or so. And it will likely hold together and make it into parts of northwest Indiana. So if you're over in Lake County here in Indiana, Porter County, this storm is on track to reach you later this afternoon and this evening. So it is just a monster storm that hasn't really shown any signs of weakening, at least in the intensity of the storm. But it is just a monster storm right now. And we've been talking about the wind and the threat of a tornado. Let's look at that hail size again, because I'm really looking at this and saying, boy, this just kind of went right over O'Hare a few moments ago in terms of the size of the hail. And obviously hail on airplanes, they're not flying right now, but if they had any hail fall at O'Hare, what they have to do is they have to go out and inspect every single plane for any hail damage, because you can't have any dents on a plane from hail. Planes don't work. You got to have the correct aerodynamics there. And so they're probably just looking at any hail that may have come down at O'Hare. But the hail size is still showing up over an inch of size in O'Hare at the hail size. So here's some video of the people taking shelter at Wrigley Field. You can see the intensity of the rain coming down, some lightning flashes as well. People obviously underneath into the concourses here at Wrigley as the storm was coming through. So Cheryl, boy, this is not letting up. It's going to stay a pretty intense storm for, it looks like, probably the course of its life as it moves through Cook County and then also into northwest Indiana. And there we just got an updated tornado warning, which now stretches all the way to the south side along the Dan Ryan, stretching farther to the south here, all the way to I-80 is the new updated tornado warning. That's in effect. Let me get the time here.
Until 7:45. Yeah.
Yep, you got it? Yeah. So there it is, the extension of that warning. And you can hear some of the sirens going off too. Your phones are probably going off if you're in this area. Cheryl?
Just want to give you the vantage point of where we're finding the possibility of a tornado touchdown, which has been evident within this thunderstorm for at least the past hour now, and it's still holding on to that rotation and strength. So just to give you an idea and the vantage point here, a lot of you getting the updated warning, but where this storm is located currently is just to the north of Midway. So here's Midway, there's 55, and you can see just to the north. So between Stickney and Cicero, this is where we're finding the potential of that rotation, still the possibility of a tornado touchdown within this storm. And because of that, the National Weather Service said, hey, this storm is still going to continue to cycle through. It's still finding its rotation. It's moving along a frontal boundary that unfortunately we cannot move or get it out of the way, which means as this storm remains moving here in northern Illinois along this boundary, dropping itself off to the east-southeast very slowly, it's going to still have the possibility of that rotation. So here's that new warned zone, which does include much of Cook County here, all the way down to the south. So if you are in this red zone here, Chicago stretching to the south, just to the east of Tinley Park, and then the state border, you're under that tornado warning because this storm is going to continue to drop itself slowly to the east-southeast. So downtown Chicago getting ready for extremely heavy rain. The rotation, however, looks to stay just to the east, or just to the west, I should say, of the city right now. So as we take you in closer where we're finding that rotation, and interesting, it's dropping a little bit farther south than east right now, but around Cicero and Stickney and Summit, and this is going to continue to drop itself to the south, crossing over I-55. So people at Midway under this warning likely seeking getting the right protocol there to seek shelter, and our airports are equipped with safety measures and rooms for when stuff like this happens. But the strongest rotation right now is directly over Berwyn to Riverside, and it's heading toward Midway, if not just to the west. So we've been talking about this and we've been focusing in on this one area. So it's from Cicero to Stickney, crossing over 55, and there you can clearly see Midway. This is going to drop itself, continue to move slowly to the south, and move its way farther closer to the Midway airport. So as we zoom in here again, this is a high travel time. Rain moving through, very heavy rain, high gusty winds. So as we zoom in a little bit closer, we're looking at South Central Avenue, 55 here, West 47th Street, over towards Pulaski Road as well. You're in the direct path of this storm where we're finding the potential of some rotation. Regardless, winds clocking within this storm right now. We've had reports of 80-mile-per-hour winds, so damaging high winds expected with this storm as it continues to move through. Greater than 80-mile-per-hour winds not out of the question as this storm continues to head through LaGrange Park, Brookfield, and Riverside. This is also directly headed towards you, Summit and Lyons. So out ahead of this storm, you got to seek shelter. You have to be in your safe place. We have the tornado warning that has been issued. No confirmed tornado reports coming in, but it's there. The possibility of this storm to drop a tornado at a moment's notice is not out of the question. So as we track this,
Cheryl, we're just getting some video in right now too.
Okay,
go ahead and track that. This is from Mount Prospect. Of a little bit of tree damage as the storm was coming through that area. And the concern is obviously for a tornado, but we don't want to miss the fact that this storm is producing some very high winds, upwards of 80 miles per hour, heading right through LaGrange Park, Brookfield, Riverside, heading towards the Summit area and the Lyons area right now. That's where the highest winds are located with this storm. And as Cheryl was mentioning, you got a track there. Give us the times there of the track on the leading edge of that storm.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible that we are getting wind reports coming in upwards of 80 miles per hour out of this storm system. And this is one strong supercell thunderstorm that is continuing to work its way through. So for miles now, we're going to likely see some pretty impressive wind damage out of this storm. But right now, where we are finding that rotation within the storm, continuing to see that, it has not lost its grip from the potential of producing a tornado. Hometown 718, Evergreen Park at 722, Marionette Park at 729. This is moving very close right now to the Midway Airport region, dropping to the east-southeast. So it's right on top, basically, of Midway. That rotation, there's Midway. Here's Cicero, Stickney, 55. So that rotation is just to the east there. So this will continue to move its way to the east-southeast. But again, this tornado warning has been expanded even farther to the south, and it does include everyone in this red zone here for Cook County 94 down towards 294. And this remains now in effect until 7:45. This is a beast of a thunderstorm, extremely heavy rain and high winds. We're getting reports of wind damage just littered across our area from the path of this storm. So as we zoom on out, let me put this
Cheryl, I've got that velocity data pulled up, but
okay,
I really want to show this because we were talking about the wind speeds with this storm. So this is the zoomed in view of this rotation, which is real close to Stickney heading towards Midway. And there you can see the airport on the map. It's not raining yet at Midway, and the storm is just now approaching Midway. But right in here's the circulation. But there are a couple of things that we're watching here. So this is about ready to cross the Stevenson, but look at the blues and the whites here, and right up here just to the east of Cicero, right over the west side of the city. So those two pockets are where we're getting those winds gusting up to 80 miles per hour with this storm. So we've got the circulation center, but look at the broad wind field within this entire area. So this is some really intense wind away from where that rotation center is located. And so we've got the tornado threat and the high wind threat from this entire zone here, which really stretches from basically just outside the loop, clear back towards the Brookfield Zoo and Brookfield here. And this extends down towards Summit and Riverside, Stickney. You're all in this here, and it's going to move over Midway here in the next couple of moments. If we switch back to the radar mode, where we look at the traditional radar mode, you can see right there's the hook, and it's just now getting ready to cross the Stevenson right over Cicero. Cicero's right here. There's the city and there's the road. And there you can see back towards Summit as well. Still some very intense rain coming in this direction. The intensity of this storm has been going through these cycles where we get the rotation to tighten up, then it kind of weakens just a little bit. And so far we haven't had any reports of any touchdowns, but with the high winds we're seeing, even if we don't have any touchdowns, we're still going to have issues with power outages, trees down, tree limbs down and stuff as this storm moves down to the south and to the east. So giving you that wider view, it's raining really hard right now downtown. We got a camera downtown too. Let's just take a peek at the State Street here, and you can see pretty good rain coming down. The streets are filling up with water. Obviously not much traffic right now. Everybody's kind of staying inside, which is the most advisable thing to do, and let this storm pass. But it is raining pretty hard downtown. We're hearing the thunder here at our State Street studios, and it looks like nighttime outside because of the intensity of this storm. And obviously sunset's not until after 8 o'clock nowadays, but it is just raining hard, and we're getting a lot of lightning here in downtown. The core of this storm is just to the west of downtown, and that's where the high winds are located, as I was showing on that velocity data a few seconds ago. But right over Midway and just crossing over to Stevenson right now, there's the updated radar scan. So the circulation is either right over the Stevenson along Cicero and just south of it, drifting down towards Midway as we speak. So from Stickney to Midway, stretching just along Cicero southward, you need to be in your tornado safe room right now. If you're in Bedford Park, Burbank, Oak Lawn, Marquette Park, Evergreen Park, Oak Lawn, you're in line here for this rotation to pass over you as we go through the next at least 10 minutes here, because it is moving down to the south and east at about 35 miles per hour. So it has a pretty quick pace to it. The cloud tops, which we've been examining throughout this event here, have been up around 50,000 feet. This is really the first storm we've seen all season that has been this big characteristic supercell thunderstorm that gets up to 50,000 feet. And this is the worst storm we've seen so far as we've gone through the day today. And it may only be only one storm we see. We may not have any more storms as we go through the course of the rest of the evening. We still have a tornado watch in place until 11 o'clock, but it really is just for this one particular thunderstorm that's now right over the city, and the highest populated area here in our viewing area is getting hit with this nasty storm as it's drifting down to the south. We got the windows open. I can look out now on State Street, and you can see the rain's coming down. We're right across from the Chicago Theater, and it is raining hard, and just the puddles on the streets, and the lightning is pretty intense. I can hear the thunder. It is really coming down within this storm. In fact, the rainfall rates have been upwards of 2 to 2.5, even 3 inches per hour within this thunderstorm. So tremendous amounts of rain, high winds, and also a hail concern. Good news, I haven't seen any large hail reports, at least recently, Cheryl, so maybe the hail size has kind of dropped off a little bit from this storm. But when I switch over to the hail detection mode, and let me just show you that here, right between the Eisenhower and the Stevenson from Cicero off towards the east, it's still showing the possibility of some very large hail in that zone. And I'll just give you a hail size detection mode on our radar, upwards of almost 1.5 to 2 inch size hail right here, just to the east of Cicero, right between Cicero and then over towards, say, Damon as well, stretching down towards the Eisenhower, or south of the Eisenhower towards the Stevenson. A real pocket there of possibly some very large hail, but so far no reports. That usually comes a little bit later after the storm passes, Cheryl.
Yeah, any signs of any weakening we will take. And what's really interesting is I want to zoom this shot out for you, because we were tracking a nasty storm cluster up in parts of Wisconsin. And then from that storm and along the frontal boundary, another storm, the one we're tracking and we've been tracking right along I-290, continuing to work its way slowly off to the south and east. But notice what's happening here. It's almost turning into a much larger event as these storms begin to congeal almost and gather off to the south and east of us. So pretty impressive dynamics in the atmosphere today, but the storm that bubbled up here in response to an outflow, and then the instability, the warmth, the moisture, and then riding along a warm frontal boundary. So that's the reason why we still have that tornado threat. We've been clocking winds upwards of 70 to 80 miles per hour, potentially within this storm. Wind damage reports are coming in. And just to give you an idea, an EF0 tornado, an EF1 tornado packs winds close to about 80 to 85 miles per hour, up to a 100 possible. So even if there's not a tornado touchdown on the ground, this storm is very dangerous because it's packing wind speeds upwards of 70 miles per hour. Midway currently gusting. Midway's wind gust report right now coming in at 70 miles per hour. Those are damaging winds potentially here. So this is still a very potent, powerful storm, a lot of lightning and very heavy rain within this storm. We've been monitoring the velocity within this storm system. We've been talking about the rotation. Even as we take a look now, we're still finding some broad rotation, but what's really interesting is those the wind speeds and the large area being impacted by them. So as we take a look at where we're finding like the brightest velocity colors popping up on screen, you can see our velocity showing and querying this velocity and wind speeds upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour. So definitely a very powerful, strong storm as it works its way off to the south and east, crossing over Midway right now as we speak. So this is making its way off to the south and east. Englewood, this is right at your doorstep. 90, 94 in the vicinity of this storm off to the south of Chicago right now. Downtown Chicago getting in on the extreme heavy rain right now, stretching back towards Cicero, slowly working its way to the south and east. If this could just move a little bit faster off to the east to get it out of our area, that would be ideal. However, it's dropping to the south a bit. So that's why we do have that tornado warning in effect still for our southern cities here in Cook County, down towards I-57 and Harvey. However, this is going to be moving and crossing right over I-94 and aligning itself with I-90 into parts of northwest Indiana, getting closer to the Whiting area. So reports coming in of thunderstorm wind damage. Entire roof of a third floor apartment building completely removed, and this was in Maywood, and that's where we were tracking the center of the circulation at one point right on top of Maywood. So we're getting confirmed reports, an entire roof of a third floor apartment building removed. This is a destructive, damaging thunderstorm that is working its way through our area right now. So you need to be alert and on guard. The worst of this is just now passing to the south of the city, but for our southern cities here in southern Cook County, heads up, this is going to come in and it's going to produce extremely heavy rain, extremely high winds as well. And right now, right around Englewood, stretching off to the south, out ahead of this storm, you need to be alert and in your safe place. So for those of you downstream of this storm, heads up. So that's Burnside. That's getting close to Whiting as well. Down 94 and right along I-90, stretching towards the lakefront. So we have South Chicago, Burnside. This is the region that this storm is going to continue to work its way through. I just want to take a look at the wind gust reports here because, as we were mentioning, Midway was showing a report up to about 70 miles per hour, sustained gusts at O'Hare currently at about 30 miles per hour. So the evolution here of this storm, which developed about an hour to 2 hours ago, well up to the north and west, it just latched onto this boundary, continued to intensify, and it is still making its way through the far eastern part of our area. So from Chicago just off to the south now, on top of Midway, getting the downpour and the extreme winds as well. Also still finding the possibility of rotation within this storm. And as Larry was mentioning and showing, hail. Definitely still the possibility of some hail within this storm, and the storm tops growing up to about 40 to 50,000 feet. It really is interesting to see that this supercell thunderstorm has held itself together and still seeing this warned zone on the map, and we're still finding a little bit of a hook in place. So still the potential that this storm at any moment in time could come together and drop down a funnel or a tornado in just a few seconds to a few minutes. That's not out of the question with this storm, Larry. And that's what's dangerous, as well as those extreme high winds. Yeah, and Cheryl, just getting an update right now. Highest tornado potential is just east of Midway near Chicago Lawn and Englewood. The storm is pretty wrapped up right now, so it's starting to get some rain wrapped around it right now. But right here between Midway and Englewood is where this circulation is located. We've got some very intense winds right here now moving into Englewood, just over Little Village and moving out of Little Village down towards Englewood. Some very intense winds in that zone, possibly upwards of 80+ miles per hour. We got that report of damage in Maywood, and let me show you where that was located, because that report, and I'll give you a spot on the map where it was located. Here's Maywood. It was just here along St. Charles Road is where that report of a third floor of an apartment complex was damaged. We don't know how bad, but the initial reports show that it was pretty damaged, and it's actually just south of St. Charles Road, or real close to St. Charles Road. I don't have an exact address for you, but that gives you some perspective of where that damage that we were talking about a few moments ago was located. But there again is the storm, and look at this. So this is our live Doppler 7 Max radar, and because we get scans so rapidly on our own live radar, you can really see the rotation center, which was out over Maywood there and heading over Cicero and near Midway, and now stretching down towards Englewood and just about ready to cross the Dan
Ryan as we speak. It's going to maybe hug the skyway as it moves to the south and to the east. So this is moving pretty quickly at about 35 to 40 miles per hour now, just now on the south side of town, moving over the Dan Ryan as we speak, and then sliding down the skyway as we go through the course of the next 10 to 15 minutes. In fact, probably in the next 30 minutes, this will be out of Cook County and then moving into parts of Lake County in Indiana. The other thing I want to show you, and go back to that velocity data again, because we got these high winds where we're getting 80+ mile per hour winds right in this zone where you get the brighter shades of green. That's on the kind of the north side of where that circulation was located. So I'll switch over to the radar mode again and show you the radar presentation. So there's the radar presentation, and those high winds are kind of tucked up in this area. The southern flank of the storm, that's where the winds are rushing into the storm and then going straight up into the sky and then spinning. That's right here where we've got this little notch forming down in this spot. So the updated tornado warning continues until 7:45, located over Chicago Lawn, moving southeast at 30 miles per hour. So we've been tracking it here, and you can see what we're looking at with the latest radar. I'm going to switch radars again because it's nice to have several radars because you can look at different things and different views from these storms. And there's that little appendage hanging down from this particular storm, just rolling through Englewood right now, getting southward. It's going to move into Burnside. If you're down towards Burnside, over towards Calumet City, the east side, this storm is heading in your general vicinity. So you want to take your tornado precautions right now and let this storm pass on by. We're here downtown, and I know many of you are just hearing the tremendous amount of thunder from this storm. This is just a loop of the lightning over the past hour, and look at all these lightning strikes that were clustered in the northwest suburbs, now directly over the city in Cook County and drifting south and eastward. Lightning counter here. In the past 5 minutes in this pretty broad zone, we've had over 1,000 cloud to ground lightning strikes from just this one supercell thunderstorm. So it's a lightning show, it's a hail threat, it's a wind threat, and of course the tornado threat as well. The tornado watch that's in effect is in effect until 11 o'clock this evening. This was issued for this one particular thunderstorm that flared up and produced a possible tornado for us and prompted the tornado warning. And now as that storm is moving into the southern parts of Cook County, there's nothing really upstream right now that's of concern. And as Cheryl was pointing out a few seconds ago, that all these this storm rather, and all the storms on the other side of the lake are going to come together and possibly form a derecho later this evening and race through Indiana and eventually into Ohio later tonight. So this is just the start of what's going to be more storms farther east from us. But of course, our immediate threat is this storm right here. And let's do a track on this circulation here as it's moving down the Dan Ryan and moving over towards the Skyway. We'll track it off towards the southeast here, putting it in Pullman at about 724, over towards Kensington at 726, and eventually down towards the Whiting area around 731. A lot of lightning out over the lake. Do we have any cameras here downtown outside still looking maybe on State Street, or this is the shed camera? This looks a lot better than it did a few moments ago when the storm was most intense over downtown, but you can see the rain still falling and State Street's got some water on it, that's for sure. The rain letting up in intensity just a little bit downtown, but still coming down at a pretty good clip at this point. So this storm, and it's now going to hug the lakefront as it moves into northwest Indiana, will be moving down towards East Chicago. You folks in Hammond, you might be spared from the storm, but if you're in East Chicago, stretching over towards Whiting, Burnside, you need to be in your tornado safe room right now because you can see the general track of that storm shifting it to the south and to the east. I do want to point out that if you're out to the west right now, if you're in DuPage County, northern Cook County, you're now in the clear. O'Hare's in the clear. No more storms coming for you, at least in the near term, and I don't think we'll have any active weather for the rest of the evening once this storm moves off towards the east. But right now, we have just this one very intense supercell thunderstorm moving on the south side of the city, stretching down to the south and to the east. Cheryl, this lightning show that we're seeing, it's really incredible, and it's kind of a function of the fact that we have all this moisture in the atmosphere. And also there's large hailstones up in this thunderstorm. And those hailstones, when they're up in the sky, they rub together, they create some friction, and it helps create electricity up in the atmosphere. And oftentimes when you get these big hailstones, in some cases, at least the radar is detecting 1 to even 2-inch size hailstones, you can get a lot of electricity generated up in the storm, and it creates a tremendous lightning display, which we're seeing right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's a lot of lightning, as we've been showing. This is a powerful storm, and you have to realize in the upper levels of the atmosphere, these storms tap into much colder air aloft. And when we're tracking a strong supercell thunderstorm and we're dissecting this and we have storm tops up to about 50,000 feet, that's where those powerful updrafts are continuing to build those hailstones, as well as tapping into the colder air and aiding in the intensification of the lightning within a thunderstorm. So definitely a powerful storm system. And since we're just talking about it, let me just go ahead and quickly dissect the storm. And while I'm doing this, also to note, the storm has been really latched on to a warm front that's been draped across our area. And as the storm continues to move to the south, it's going to cross over that boundary. And my hopes and my forecast here, as the storm continues to drop farther to the south, it will start to broaden out in terms of that rotation threat. But here's a look at the inside of this storm as we dissect it. And you can see those tops over 40,000 feet. Much colder air aloft here. So that's why we are finding that hail. And also when we get the strong updrafts within a thunderstorm, that allows for powerful downdrafts, potentially downbursts, and very high winds at surface level. And we've had reports of wind gusts up to about 60 to even up to 80 miles per hour within this storm forming here. It's this one strong supercell thunderstorm moving there right along I-90, latched to that warm front, moving through northern Cook County down into the city, and now dropping its way farther to the south, where we still do have a tornado warning in effect until 7:45. So for the next 20 to 25 minutes, but just from a bird's eye view here on radar, we're still seeing a little bit of a notch. We're still seeing a little bit of rotation here. That's still not out of the question, but still the potential of rotation within this storm. Hopefully it is beginning to weaken a little bit, but just coming in from the National Weather Service, this storm does still remain in a favorable environment for the supercell tornado formation, and this will be a threat as we look into northwest Indiana. So regardless whether we see that tornado threat end or not, it's still going to pack extremely high winds up to 70 to 80 miles per hour. So damaging winds within this storm as it continues to drop to the south and east, but still conditions are favorable for this storm to produce a tornado. That's not out of the question. And these strong winds, they're strong enough to snap trees and also damage buildings. And we had a report in Maywood of an entire roof that came off of a 3rd floor apartment. So the damage is happening. We're seeing that come in as these storms move through. So just to recap for you, if you've been watching us for a while, we appreciate that, keeping you safe here with these tornado warnings coming through. Powerful, dangerous storm. If you are just tuning in, we have this tornado warning that has been issued for the area and remains in effect until 7:45 at this point in time. So it's for southern Cook County. So the question is, will this be expanded into northwest Indiana? And coming in from and looking at the latest from the National Weather Service, I won't be surprised if they do extend this into parts of northwest Indiana, from Whiting down towards Hammond and over towards Gary. You'll be in that zone, but still assessing here the dynamics within this thunderstorm, broadening out on the rotation, hopefully just a little bit. But I do want to take a look at velocity here closely while you're with us this evening, because this is where we can see the potential of rotation. And it is looking a little broad. Not as tight as it once was about 45 minutes ago, but with that said, still the potential and still finding those reds next to those greens there, crossing over Englewood. There's 90, Burnside as well. But notice those bright greens as well. That's indicating where our radar is picking up on higher wind speeds within the thunderstorm. So those returns are a little bit stronger, and that's where we're clocking winds potentially upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour. So these strong winds are going to come barreling through just south of the city, parts of southern Cook County here as we go into about the next 45 minutes to an hour. So as we put this into motion, you can see the nature of this really beast of a storm as it's moving through right along the lakefront now. now south of the city. The worst of it is passing down south of the city, heading towards Calumet City and northwest Indiana. So Whiting, you're also in the path of this. Burnham also in the path of this. East Chicago, Hammond as well. And if I just pause this now, we can track this moving slowly to the east-southeast at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. So it doesn't have that much speed to it. So the big question is here, are we still going to see this tornado warning extended into northwest Indiana? Regardless, you need to be alert and you need to be on guard, because we're also looking at the power of these winds within this storm. So Calumet City at 740 would be getting closer to you. East Chicago at 743 and Hammond area at 748. And if it continues to hold together, Gary getting closer to you at about 8 o'clock. So still a lot to watch out for, and we still have a tornado watch in effect here until 11 o'clock, which does include northwest Indiana. So this is what I was mentioning earlier. We had that warm front draped across the air. If we put this storm into motion with this front, you can see it developing up to the north and west. All of this warm, moist air just aiding and fueling the storm development up to the north, a little bit cooler. So you can see that storm cell and that structure latching onto this frontal boundary, wobbling its way through, continuing to rotate there through cycles, not dying, and it's still holding its own out there as it moves farther to the east. So as this crosses over the warm frontal boundary, the hope is that we take away a little bit of that rotational threat as it drops farther to the south, but something that we are definitely monitoring, and we're going to continue to keep on this as we do have the tornado warning in effect. So if you are in that warned zone, definitely seek shelter. Yes, Larry.
Yeah, I got a picture that just came into the newsroom here from the Midway airport. Look at the lightning there at Midway. Looks like it may have hit possibly a transformer when you see a blue arc like that. Certainly a possibility with that particular storm. We've got Storm Tracker Live traveling along DuSable Lakeshore Drive. They've just come into downtown, and what was interesting about their perspective is there's actually a little daylight you can see reflecting off the buildings now downtown on the north side of town on the back side of this thunderstorm. And as we're looking southward here on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, you can certainly see the dark skies still south of the city from this storm. And as Cheryl was mentioning, still waiting on whether or not the Weather Service will extend the tornado warning into northwest Indiana. Right now, we just continue with a little portion of Cook County in a tornado warning. That is set to expire at 7:45. So there's the red box, but really the core of that storm is just hugging the lakefront right now. It has not been extended into northwest Indiana, and some of the latest radar scans are suggesting that the rotation is showing some signs of weakening. There's obviously still rotation right there. One of the things the Weather Service was contemplating was just continuing the tornado warning until there's no evidence of a tornado, and at this point there's still the possibility of a tornado. So we'll see what they do over the next couple of minutes if they extend this tornado warning into northwest Indiana. But regardless, if you're in Whiting right now, if you're in Hammond, if you're on the west side of Gary, you really do want to just head into that safe room and ride this storm out. The tornado threat may be weakening just a little bit, but the high wind threat remains a huge concern here for winds gusting 70 to 80 miles per hour as the storm drifts right along the lakefront here. Okay, they just continued the warning. So they've contemplated it. They've decided, let's warn this again. So we've got the continuation of the tornado warning into northwest Indiana. Let me get you a time here on the new updated tornado warning, which includes parts of Lake and Porter County, stretching right over Gary, Merrillville, Hammond. You're all included now in the tornado warning. I'm sure your phones are going off right now if you're in northwest Indiana in this zone. It's until 8:15, includes parts of Lake and Porter County. So as we were talking about it, the abundance of caution here is to continue the tornado warning, because there's still the possibility this could spin up a tornado at any point, plus the concern of those high winds. You know, sometimes the National Weather Service will make a decision to warn a storm that may have some evidence of a tornado, but if it has extremely high winds, they'll pull the trigger and issue that tornado warning, because it kind of heightens the alert of the intensity of this storm to people who are watching. So if you're in Gary, over towards Hammond, Whiting right now, over towards, say, Portage rather, Ogden Dunes, not quite to Chesterton. You're not in the warning there in Chesterton, but from Merrillville to Hobart over towards Valparaiso, you're in the tornado warning right now until 8:15. And so this storm will continue to dive to the south and to the east. It's moving at about 30 to 35 miles per hour. And as I put it in motion, you can kind of get the idea of the motion here and the direction that this storm is going, moving southeast. And I mentioned it would ride right over the Skyway, and that's exactly what has happened right now. That rotation center has moved right over the Skyway, now moving down to the south and to the east. It's going to move over Klein Avenue here in the next few moments, and then eventually over into Gary as well. We'll see how far south this extends. It may stay maybe just around Merrillville. It may stay just to your north. I tell you, it's going to be real close, but if you're anywhere here in northern Lake County, you need to be taking your tornado precautions right now. That small interior room, away from windows, away from exterior walls. Basements are obviously the best place to go, and just let this storm pass. You can listen to us too on abc7chicago.com on your cell phone. You can pull up our website. We're live streaming right now. So if you happen to lose power, or if you're in your safe room and you can't hear the TV when you're in the safe room, you can pull us up right on your phone and listen to us there as well. So we just want everybody to be as safe as possible with this storm. And a broader view shows additional storms firing up to the east, and that's going to be that big complex of storms that will race eventually towards Ohio. But this is the lone supercell thunderstorm that we have been dealing with since about 5:50. So we're coming up close on 2 hours now of continuous coverage here on ABC7 because of this very intense thunderstorm that's been racing through. Here's what we call a product from the radar that we haven't seen so far this afternoon. And I want to show you this because this is pinpointing where the rotation has been located over time. So this is an hour time lapse, and it shows the track of that rotation from up here around Medina and Itasca, over Maywood, where we had the reports of damage, right over Midway, and now stretching down into the south side of the city, and then down towards the Skyway, over towards Calumet Harbor, and down towards Calumet City. The one thing I can tell you about this, so that circulation is now crossing over the state line. Where you get the brighter blues, that's where the circulation was tighter. And as you look at the latest scans here on what we call shear tracks, it's not as intense as it was back over parts of Cook County. So that's one of the reasons why we're not as concerned right now for a tornado, but we're certainly very concerned for some high winds. And as I was explaining the logic there from the Weather Service is why they went ahead and issued the tornado warning, just to kind of cover that possibility of a tornado dropping out of the storm, and also to cover the fact that we've got some real high winds coming in with this storm. And Cheryl, right there, it looks like the hook's kind of reforming right now.
Yeah, it really is the lone supercell storm that's holding on, but I do want to pass some information on to our viewers. The NBA Countdown pregame show can be seen on Digital 7.2. So just a heads up there, you can switch over there if you need to, but we're going to continue to monitor these storms because we do have that severe weather threat that remains in place with these storms, and a new tornado warning that has been extended now into northwest Indiana, as we're still finding here the rotation holding on within this thunderstorm. We're also getting reports of some high winds, upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour, and wind damage that has been reported and littered all across our area from this one strong storm that is moving through. And truly, it's holding on to a sliver of our region. So Whiting, Indiana, right along I-90, Calumet City. This is where we're finding that thunderstorm that will continue to work its way to the east-southeast. So from Whiting down towards East Chicago, Calumet City, right along I-90. This is where the worst of the storm is, and it will continue to drop its way farther to the south, east, southeast as it moves on through. So for those of you in Gary, Lake Station, Hammond, you need to be alert. Also Ogden Dunes, as this continues to move its way to the east. Chesterton, you're just outside of this warning zone, but for those of you tuning in just now, tornado warning has been extended here for parts of Lake and Porter counties in this area in red until 8:15 at this point in time. So unless this storm completely fizzles out, loses all of its rotation, we have the tornado warning in place to keep you safe. And if you're in this region, you need to be alert and have that safe place ready to get there and go there if need be under this warning. So this is the zone that we're watching and monitoring. Whiting, East Chicago, right along the lakefront here. This storm is continuing to exhibit and show signs of rotation within this area. So as I switch over and take a look at velocity here, you can clearly see the red next to the green. In this region, this is where we're finding that circulation. So Whiting, East Chicago, this is that dangerous zone. The potential of a tornado cannot be ruled out. So right now, the strongest rotation is moving directly over Gary Airport. So from Whiting down towards East Chicago, this is the area that we're concerned about. This is where we're finding the rotation. Still evidence of this on velocity at this point in time. So impressive that this storm has held on to this much strength for the past hour to 2 hours, Larry.
It really is remarkable. These supercell thunderstorms can continue in the environment that they're in for many, many hours, and that's the case with this. I've got Liz Nagy right now in Roselle. She's got a report for me. You've got some damage.
Yeah, Larry, you can see this tree is down. This entire thing snapped under the force of that wind and rain that was happening out here earlier. And it looked like it had just happened probably within the last half hour when we arrived here about 15 minutes ago. And you can see this is how quickly people sort of come out of their homes and move on. Not only are people coming out to check out the damage, but as we were standing here, this gentleman on the other side of the street just walked up with a chainsaw and started trying to clean this up. We did see a lot of very large branches, trees, leaves, things like that scattered around the roadway on our way into town, but this was by far the worst we've come across so far. Of course, as we were driving down the street, we also saw fire trucks deploying. So we got a sense that the storm, the worst of the storm, had just recently passed through. One of the neighbors who lives on this block, we're on Pine Avenue here in Roselle, told me that at about the same time they heard this tree snap and fall over is also when they heard a transponder down the street explode. So there were some really loud sounds happening, some pretty significant storm damage when this happened just a little while ago. They did say that the power is now back on in this street. We've already seen power trucks circling the block, sort of that quick work to start cleaning up from these summer storms. But to give you an idea, this is a pretty large tree that's down and now blocking the road and a significant portion of somebody's yard. We did speak with somebody out here who told us the person who owns this house is actually the mayor of Roselle, and he's now out trying to check out damage at other people's yards in other parts of the village just to make sure that everybody else is okay. But here, nobody injured, just a very large tree down.
Yeah, Liz, you mentioned how power went out there. It seems like it's back on. I've got a report of 56,000 people without power, according to ComEd, and that number may grow still yet. So thank you, Liz, for that report. I really appreciate it. And there you can see the storm right now just hugging the shoreline, now moving into northwest Indiana. The worst of it has crossed the state line right now, so it's moving firmly into northern parts of Lake County here in Indiana. And right over to the Gary Airport, just moving out of East Chicago, moving into Gary right now, is where the circulation is still evident. There's still rotation going on, and we still have a suspicious look to the radar. When you get these little notches, you hate to see it because those are the spots where you could be possibly seeing rotation. We'll switch over to the velocity mode because that also gives us some perspective of what we're seeing. And there is still some greens and reds right next to each other, right in this general zone. But the core of the winds from this storm, which we were tracking a few moments ago when they were up around, say, Englewood and back towards Cicero, the core of the winds don't look quite as intense as they were, say, a few moments ago, but they are still producing the possibility of some high winds, especially out over the lake. So that's where we still could be seeing some winds upwards of 60, 70, maybe 80 miles per hour. So Cook County is now in the clear from any tornado warnings. Just got word that all of Cook County is in the clear from tornado warnings. You can see that sliver here. It's been canceled early. It was supposed to end at 7:45. The Weather Service went ahead and canceled it as well. And you could see how the storm has moved across the state line. So no more tornado warnings here in Illinois. We still have to get through this storm in northwest Indiana that's now moving through northern Lake County and racing to the south and to the east. I want to put a storm track on this storm as it's moving to the south and east, and I'll track the circulation portion of the storm first. And it's right now moving over Gary, and it's going to track down towards Valparaiso, maybe just north of Valparaiso. But I tell you, the track looks like it's going to continue down to the south and east. But over towards Hobart at 7:49, Deep River at 7:56. There's Chesterton at 8:04 in Valparaiso right around 8:07. So about 20 minutes from now, it'll be into Valparaiso with this storm. We've got the threat there of a tornado still, very high winds, and some large hail. Let's take a look at that hail detection mode because most of the hail is falling out over the lake, but right there at East Chicago and near Whiting, there's still the thought here of some large hailstones falling from the sky. You can see right there, I'm going to do a little examination of that bright purple area, still showing hail size here of nearly 1.5 inches in diameter right along the lakefront here. And of course, there's a lot of factories and industrial zone right here. They could be getting some very large hailstones falling in that particular spot. So going back to the radar, there it is. And the overview of the radar here with this storm as it's moving away from the city, just to broaden the perspective, there's nothing back to the west. There are no more storms anywhere in Illinois. They're now moving into northwest Indiana, and they'll continue to accelerate down to the south and east as we go through the course of the evening. We technically still have a tornado watch in effect until 11 o'clock this evening. That will probably be expired early for at least Illinois here because there are no storms back to the west, but it'll continue into northwest Indiana for a little bit longer. I want to show you the lightning detection mode again because we have seen just this huge display of lightning, and there you can see this cluster of lightning associated with this supercell thunderstorm now moving into northwest Indiana. If you're over in Chesterton and Portage, you're going to get this intense lightning here over the next 10 to 15 minutes. Cheryl?
Yeah, and we just want to bring an update to you. The NBA Countdown pregame show can be seen on 7.2, so you can catch that there. We are just going to stay with this storm because we still have that severe weather threat and the tornado warning in place for our viewers and folks and friends and family members in northwest Indiana. This is still a dangerous storm that is moving through. Reports of wind damage, gusts up to 60, 70, even 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts have reported. Rotation still being found within this storm, which is impressive because it's held itself together over the past 2 hours, and it's continuing to make its way through parts of the area. So the worst of this storm right now is in effect here in northwest Indiana. Northern Lake County and East Chicago getting the brunt of this right over the Gary Airport currently. This is where we're finding the rotation within this storm. This is going to continue to work its way to the east, southeast, beginning to broaden up on the hook just a little bit, but we're still getting that inflow into this storm, and you can see that just north of I-80. So Gary, this is on your doorstep. The latest scan now bringing that rain a little bit heavier in your view. The reds, the brighter reflectivities, that heavier rainfall just off to the north now. But this is going to continue to drop its way to the south and east. And as it does, it's going to bring with it extremely heavy rain, a lot of lightning, dangerous lightning, some hail, as well as the potential still of very high winds with this storm, and still finding rotation on radar. So for those of you in the Gary Airport, New Chicago, Lake Station, Gary area, Highland, Griffith, Ross, Maryville, you're downstream of this storm. Hobart as well, you're in the tornado warned zone. Hammond also in the tornado warned zone, but now just passing, I would say, off to the east of you, so beginning to get in the clear for sure for you, but really right on top of Gary right now is still where we're finding some pretty decent rotation within this storm as it's moving its way through. As it continues to work its way to the south, I do see that the hook is lessening just a little bit. It is becoming more defined into a straight line, and those are good things and good signs to see, but it is still moving quickly. And as it does, it's going to pack its punch with very heavy rain as well as some hail with this storm as it moves to the south and east. So as we track this for you, if you're out ahead of this storm, seek shelter, get to your safe place just to be safe. Calumet 743, Ross 751, Hobart at 8:01, and this warning remains in effect until 8:15 unless it does expire a little early, something we're monitoring. Deep River closer to you at about 8:16. So as we look at the storm as a whole, a lot of lightning being detected, extremely heavy rain. The potential for more storm development in our region is low, so we really just got to get through this one strong thunderstorm that continues to plague our region with damaging wind gusts up to about 60, 70 miles per hour. Let's take a look at the hail, and you can see the hail tracks with this storm as well, and pretty impressive here. Again, this is traveling a good amount through parts of northern Illinois into northwest Indiana, and you can see the hail that's being picked up and the track of this storm, and this is something that's going to continue to happen into northwest Indiana as it moves its way to the south and east through our region. So As just to note, this is still holding its strength. It's still a powerful storm. As we track this, you can see it's already traveled 50 to 60 miles through our area, which is pretty impressive, holding itself together for that amount of time. So let's just backtrack for a bit. The latest coming in, we have this one strong supercell thunderstorm that's continuing to move through northwest Indiana at this point in time. There's the updated tornado warning that remains in effect for Lake and Porter counties, stretching over the county line there. Valparaiso, you are also included in this. This remains in effect until 8:15. As we dissect this storm, we can still see that tops are pretty healthy and up to about 40,000 feet. Earlier, we had it closer to about 50, maybe some signs of weakening. With that said, not so much. Still a very powerful storm that is moving through northwest Indiana right now. It's a mess, I can tell you that, on I-90 from Gary over towards Ogden Dunes. And as this continues to cross over I-80, things are going to start to get a little bit ugly from Lake Station down towards Hobart, Ross, and Merrillville, stretching down I-65. So as this storm continues to move through, please be alert. Please take note. We're still finding the potential of rotation. And right now, a spotter reporting a rotating wall cloud, Main Street and Indianapolis Boulevard in Highland, Indiana. So that's why we're staying with this storm. It had the history of the potential of producing a tornado. And right now we have storm spotters on this storm close to Gary, also Lake Station, just to the north of I-80 and I-90 is where we're finding this rotation right now. And there have been some reports of a funnel cloud spotted with this as well, directly over Gary. So at this point in time, those are signs. Funnel clouds now being reported, wall clouds being reported, lowering of the clouds being reported, which means there is the potential of a tornado to drop down at any moment in time. So from Gary down towards Calumet, New Chicago, right down I-65, right here is that zone where we could potentially see that tornado touchdown right now. So from Gary to Calumet, you need to be in your safe place. Yes.
Yeah, Cheryl, that funnel cloud reported from Highland is right here on the radar. It's back here on the southwest side of Gary is where that funnel cloud is being reported. So it's pretty close to I-80 here. In this general vicinity is where that funnel cloud was reported from a spotter just coming in. Also heard of a report of a funnel cloud with the storm when it was directly over Gary. So this goes into what we were saying, is that at any moment it still could produce a tornado, and we're getting reports of funnel clouds, but there isn't any exactly a defined circulation that's creating a tornado at the moment. There could be several funnel clouds within this jagged edge. And what's interesting is we still have the hook echo here, but it's on the backside of this updraft where we could still have the possibility of a couple of funnels being reported. So this is in the Hammond area, or the Highland area rather, and over towards Griffith, and then up towards Merrillville and Gary, over towards Hobart, New Chicago, Lake Station. You're all in this zone here where the worst part of this storm is passing nearby, with the threat of some very high winds and possibly a spin-up tornado. It may not be a long-lived tornado, but the possibility is there of a brief spin-up tornado at really any moment as this storm moves off to the south and the east. You folks in Hobart, you can see the core of this storm is going to be passing into your area in the next several moments here. The one thing I was noticing a few seconds ago when Cheryl was showing the radar from over where she's located, the cloud tops have come down a bit. They're now down to about 40 to 45,000 feet. That's a little bit better than they were, say, about 30 to 40 minutes ago when they were up above 50,000 feet. Hopefully that's a good sign. It may just be the impact of a large portion of the storm being out over the lake, and sometimes it can ingest that cooler air that's out over the lake and kind of cut down on the storm just a little bit, but it's still very, very intense. I don't want to downplay the intensity of the storm despite it right over the lake. It's just a little sign of hope here that it's showing some signs of weakening. But the greatest threat here, obviously the high winds and a brief spin-up tornado as this storm drifts to the south and to the east. So we've got the threat here of still a brief tornado and very high winds right along this storm, which is hugging that warm front, which has been draped right across our area as we've gone through the course of the afternoon. And that warm front has been the difference between 70s and 60s and 90s to the south. And whenever we get these warm fronts into our area, you always have to watch storms because the potential is there for some nasty storms. Okay, we got some video coming in. I see it in the monitor. This is a wall collapse. And I think it's in the Lincoln Park area, north of Fremont. Is that what it was? North and Fremont, excuse me, yes, North and Fremont. This is a parking garage wall collapse. I saw that storm report come in a few moments ago, and there you can see some of the damage from those high winds of a wall collapse there at that parking garage. We've gotten reports of damage to a third floor of a building out in Maywood. As Liz Nege was telling us a few moments ago, up in Roselle, we've had damage to trees, a lot of trees down from these storms as they've come on through. And really the life cycle of this storm has been coming up on about 2 hours now, a little more than 2 hours for the life cycle of this thunderstorm, because we went on the air just before the 6 o'clock news to track this storm. And as I put this in motion, let me zoom out here a second, and this is just the last hour of this storm, but it actually started way back near Rockford earlier this afternoon and then became much more intense very rapidly. And the fact in the span of about 15 minutes, it went from nothing to a severe thunderstorm moving right over the northwest suburbs. There you can see it flaring up there, and boom, there it goes and just takes off and moves right through Cook County down into northwest Indiana. So the radar is now showing we're getting some mid-level rotation increasing markedly just east of Gary and west of Lake Station, heading southeast towards South Haven and Wheeler. And the Weather Service is telling us even if it's not producing a tornado, the storm is likely producing widespread wind damage. So we have mid-level rotation increasing, which is telling us that the storm is kind of regaining some strength, maybe because it's moving back over land here in northwest Indiana. That could be one factor. And when we get that mid-level rotation to increase, it can sometimes mix down those winds down to the ground. Not often the case as a tornado, but more just gusty winds coming out of the storm itself. So right there on the flank of this storm, moving just now east of Gary, right over Lake Station, over towards Ogden Dunes, that's where the core of this storm is capable of producing some very high winds, maybe as high as 70 or 80 miles per hour. That's been the life cycle of this storm, the possibility of those very high winds blowing on through. And I still see a little bit of a notch here of the greens and the reds kind of next to each other. And this is likely a pocket of some real high winds coming out of that storm right over Gary right now. So I would anticipate we're going to get some reports of tree damage across Gary, heading over towards Lake Station, maybe over towards the Hobart area as this storm continues to move off towards the south and to the east. So a view of the storm again on the radar perspective there as we get a new scan coming in. It still has a little bit of a curvature to it. This is another sign where it's still showing a little appendage hanging down. There's actually two of them right now. So there's still that possibility that it could produce a brief tornado, but the wind factor is certainly very elevated at this point with this storm. Cheryl, it's still producing a tremendous amount of lightning as well, upwards of probably 700 to 1,000 lightning strikes per the past 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's really impressive, and we're now seeing signs of re-strengthening of this storm as it moves through northwest Indiana. So we're looking at the potential here of more considerable wind damage coming out of this. Wind gusts up to about 70 miles per hour, not out of the question as this storm races or moves to the east-southeast. So from Gary to New Chicago, Hobart, you are about to get hit with some extremely high winds out of this. Also Portage, South Haven, you are in the path of this nasty thunderstorm. And as you can see on radar here from Ogden Dunes stretching down to the south, Hobart, you're about to get into the thick of this. And as this storm moves in, those winds are going to pick up in a short amount of time. So you don't want to be by any windows, definitely in an interior room. We still have the tornado warning that remains in effect here for this area until 8:15. So right along 80, 90, it is a mess and a messy go in this region in northwest Indiana, Ogden Dunes stretching down to the south. So still monitoring the situation as this storm continues to work its way to the south and east. For those of you in northwest Indiana right now, you need to stay alert. You need to be on guard with the potential of a tornado within this storm as it moves its way to the south and east. There have been reports of funnel clouds just close to the Gary area from this storm. So, and it's had a history of the rotation possible within this storm over the past 2 hours. The storm cell still very strong. Hobart 753, Green Acres at 8 o'clock, Deep River at 8:05, and Valpo getting closer to you at 8:17. So within the next 15 to 20 minutes, this storm is going to be moving through Lake and Porter counties farther to the south. So as we take a look back here and zoom out just a little bit, which is really interesting because we've had a few clusters of showers and storms develop across and near our region today. And if you put this into motion, you can see these showers and storms are beginning to form a distinct line. And what's going to happen is these storms are just going to feed into each other, continue to work their way south and east, and likely potentially form a derecho, which is a long duration wind damage event that could be moving through parts of the Ohio Valley. So we have this one storm cluster that's impacting our region, but just off to the east of us, a lot of folks are going to be hit very hard with a lot of wind and very high wind, and also that lightning there. So a really interesting storm setup here today. We still have this one cluster, a lot of lightning and very heavy rain happening within this storm as it moves through our region right now. So we're going to continue to monitor this. We're still finding some hail within these storms as well as they move on through. You can see the hail still being picked up just close to Gary area, still a little over an inch in terms of that size of hail within these thunderstorms as they work their way through. We're also still finding some rotation that's being picked up in Northwest Indiana, and you can see those reds and those greens right there close to each other, now just moving off to the south and east of Gary currently. So Hobart, you're getting in on some very high wind action. Lake Station, Merrillville as well, crossing over I-65. This is definitely a strong, powerful storm. No signs of weakening just yet, with a tornado warning that does remain in effect still until 8:15 for this area. So if you're in this zone down towards Valparaiso, this is getting closer to you, and we are going to continue to monitor this as it moves to the south and east. And let's not forget the tornado watch does remain in effect until 8 o'clock for or 11 o'clock, I should say, for Northwest Indiana. But once this one storm cell successfully moves through, passes off to the south and east, gets away from this warm frontal boundary, moves closer to those other storms, and then is out of here, we'll see our severe weather threat go down for the night tonight. But we're still looking at some very strong heat that will be building in behind the storm as this moves on through. So just to recap here quickly, Larry, do you have any last minute thoughts here on this storm or any updates coming in? I hear chat coming through.
Yeah, Cheryl, we haven't got any new reports of any funnel clouds from the storm, which we're very thankful for. The lightning continues, over 1,000 cloud to ground lightning strikes in the past 5 minutes out over the lake and now moving into Northwest Indiana. I do want to tell you that obviously we know the NBA finals are coming up here in a few moments on ABC 7 right at the top of the hour. So right at 8 o'clock, we're going to go off of our broadcast air here on Channel 7 and broadcast the game with alerts crawling at the bottom of the screen occasionally. And if we get a new tornado warning, we'll do a squeeze back where we'll just go into a tiny box on the side and give you an update if we get a new tornado warning here across Northwest Indiana. And we'll also continue our coverage on our streaming app. So if you have a TV device that you can get apps on like Netflix, Hulu, and things like that, you can watch us on the ABC 7 Chicago app, or just go to our website, abc7chicago.com. We're streaming there, and anywhere you can stream, you can catch our coverage here of these storms as they continue into Northwest Indiana. But I just want to point out again that coming up at the top of the hour, right at 8 o'clock, we're going to end our broadcast coverage on Channel 7 and go to the game. But if we get a new warning, we'll update you during the game as well. So that's the update we have. And again, the tornado warning continues here across Northwest Indiana, and that tornado warning will continue for a few more moments here, at least till about 8:15 is the additional warning time here on this tornado warning. So we'll continue the coverage on our streaming devices as well. But as Cheryl and I have been talking about, the tornado threat, it's still there. It looks like it's becoming more of a high wind threat with gusty winds upwards of, say, 80 miles per hour. And if you're in Valparaiso right now, you need to be, I would take my family still into the tornado room just to let this storm pass by, because it still could produce 80-mile-per-hour winds and even a brief tornado. And I say that I would do it with my family because you don't want to be anywhere near a window with a storm like this because the winds are going to be so high and so strong that it can do damage. We've already gotten reports of damage coming across the area from a parking garage in Lincoln Park, a lot of trees down as well. So this is a pretty serious storm where you just want to ride it out and just stay away from the windows. I know everybody's tempted when we get bad storms. Let's go take a look out the window, see how bad it is. Best to let this one go because it's going to be a pretty intense thunderstorm rolling through Porter County here with some very high winds. Good news is if you're in Gary, the storm is starting to calm down. I got some reports here in Roselle, storm damage of numerous planes flipped over in Roselle at the airport there. So new damage reports coming in from the Supercell that's been racing across the northwest suburbs down into Chicago and now northwest Indiana. All right, we're going to go to the game here on our broadcast channels. We thank you for watching. Stay safe out there. Again, this is the last storm in northwest Indiana. We'll keep our update on our streaming devices. Okay, thank you for staying with us here on abc7chicago.com and also our streaming apps as we continue our coverage of the tornado warning in northwest Indiana. This tornado warning continues until 8:15, and you can see the storm now moving out of Gary, heading closer to Valparaiso. Portage right now, Chesterton, you're in the thick of it with gusty winds, maybe up to 60, 70, 80 mile per hour winds a possibility. A lot of heavy rain, tremendous amounts of lightning, and we still have a little notch here where there's still some possibility of rotation. So we've got several things we're concerned about. Not only do we have wind, but we've got hail concerns too. In fact, there's the hail core crossing over the county line, now moving into Porter County. Let me go in closer here and we'll check out the hail size with this storm, which is now moving out of Hobart, moving right over Lake Station and Willow Creek, over towards Grocker and over towards Liberty. That's where some of the hail size could be upwards of an inch, maybe an inch and a half size hailstones falling from this particular storm as it's moving off towards the south and the east. Going back to the radar presentation, the storm itself is still moving southeastward at about 40 miles per hour, and it's just about ready to move into Valparaiso. You can see the flashing red box. That's an updated look at the tornado warning coming in. But there's that circulation right now, just about ready to move over US 30 here. The core of the storm moving into the north side of Valparaiso. The actual center of circulation may track just to the south and west of downtown Valpo, and then heading just down towards the Aberdeen area, maybe staying north of Lake of the Four Seasons. But you can see here that the storm itself is moving into Valparaiso as we speak. I'm going to do a track on this, and as I'm doing that, I'll tell you, you see the yellow flashing box over in LaPorte County? That's a new severe thunderstorm warning issued for LaPorte County as well. It's for the storm that could produce those winds, which is around Michigan City, drifting to the south and the east. But let me do a storm track on this storm, and we'll track it as it moves through Porter County, moving down towards Valparaiso in the next couple of minutes at 8:09, so that's about 7 minutes from now. Down towards Boone Grove at 8:14, Couts at 8:22, Dewey at 8:32, and down towards Railroad there at 8:39. That'll be the timing there on this particular storm as it's moving through Porter County. Cheryl, we've got this one warning. Once this clears out of Porter County, and right now it's still unclear if they'll continue it into southern Porter County and southwestern LaPorte County here. But this intensity of the storm has been really remarkable that it's stayed this strong for well over 2 hours with the high winds, the potential for a tornado, and also the hail possibility with the storm as well. Cheryl?
To say the least, and this storm is really showing no signs of weakening at this time. So it started well up to the north and west, moved into Cook County, also Kane, you got hit, northern DuPage, and now we're in northwest Indiana. And this is where we're finding an extremely strong thunderstorm moving through. Still have the tornado warned zone here until 8:15, which stretches just off to the south and east of Valparaiso. Extremely heavy rain, high winds, gusts upwards of 70 to 80 miles per hour, a lot of lightning. We have about 56,000 ComEd customers without power at this point, and that number will continue to grow. And certainly here in northwest Indiana, I won't be surprised if some of you are losing that power right now as we speak. Getting reports in from some spotters that are seeing some low-level rotation out there at this point on time, and checking in with the National Weather Service. Based on radar, the circulation will be tracking just to the south and west of Valpo. The storm is producing damaging winds even away from the circulation. So regardless whether we see that tornado touchdown, Funnel Clouds reported a brief tornado touchdown out of this. This entire storm cluster right here has the potential to produce winds upwards of 60, 70 miles per hour. So from Chesterton, stretching down towards Valparaiso, Porter County, you're in the thick of this. Extremely heavy rains and high winds are the main concerns with this. So as we zoom on in, for those of you in Chesterton, down towards Liberty, Roble Woods, Valparaiso, over towards New Durham as well. You're getting in on some rain now, but a lot of this will be heading in your direction here in the next 15 to 20 minutes, bringing with it the potential of some damaging winds, also some hail within this storm. Deep River and Valpo. So the question is, we're still seeing a little bit of a notch here. Still finding the rotation. You can see that inflow here happening just to the west of Valparaiso currently. This will continue to slide to the south and east. This is that zone where we would be looking for the potential of some rotation, which is really remarkable because we've been watching this notch and it really hasn't let up over the past hour to 2 hours. So we have reports of wind damage. We're getting some of those reports in. We have pictures and videos streaming in from viewers. We've had a report of an entire roof blown off of a third-floor apartment, extremely high winds. National Weather Service potentially could go out and survey some of the damage tomorrow to see if an actual tornado did touch down at some point. But with that said, this supercell is still holding itself and its act together with the potential of dropping a tornado at any point in time. So if you're in this warn zone, you need to be in your safe place, especially if you're close to Valparaiso right now. And this is going to be a concern here as we go into the next 10 to 15 minutes, and I won't be surprised if National Weather Service says we're going to continue with a warning downstream here just because this storm will not let up, or we could see a severe thunderstorm warning issued just like what's happening off to the east in parts of LaPorte County from Wills down towards Kankakee there, a severe thunderstorm warning, because regardless of a tornado threat within this storm, we're still seeing extremely high winds. Velocity scans are coming back with still some weak rotation and a lot of lightning and a lot of heavy rain within this storm. So we can take a look here at 3D volume scan of the storm because we were noticing some weakening a little bit ago, but that is not the case anymore. Sorry about that. Let me get to my dissect tool here. So from Valpo just to the north up towards Chesterton, taking a look inside this thunderstorm, we still have tops up to about 50,000 feet. So this storm here that we're looking at is still extremely strong. It's not losing its strength as it's moving off to the south and the east. It's moving into an environment that is fueled by a lot of heat and a lot of moisture. So it's not going to let go anytime soon. Still the potential here of rotation within this storm as well as it moves to the south and east. So this is now beginning to form a line. I would love to go to my regional SATRAD here. And
hey, Cheryl.
Yes.
Yeah, I went to school at Valparaiso University, so I've been getting texts from some folks that I still know live in Valparaiso. And the storm's coming into town right now, and I'm getting reports of how creepy the sky looks with like a gold pink sky. Barb Leschke, one of my friends there who works at the university, just texted me that and says that it's really an ominous looking sky coming into Valparaiso right now. And if you've experienced this storm this afternoon, you see just how nasty this storm looks before it gets to you. And now that it's coming into Valparaiso, it's really going to start producing some gusty winds. The circulation center where there's the possibility of a tornado is right in this zone, right over US 30 down State Route 2 right now. So this is just southwest of downtown. I think it's a farm and fleet just off Route 2 down the way here off US 30. That's one spot where it looks like that rotation is kind of real close to that. And this is there's a lot of commercial areas here along US 30, a lot of restaurants and shops and whatnot. So this will be moving through just on the south side of downtown. So downtown is right about there where the Valparaiso logo is. There's Lincoln Way Highway. And right there in that little spot is where that circulation is located. And then as you get off towards the east, that's where 49 runs down from the interstate down south through Porter County here. You got some very intense rain coming down at Porter Memorial Hospital. maybe some large hail embedded in there as well, and the possibility of some very high winds. In fact, as I switch over to velocity mode, it's really interesting because there's the circulation now moving right along US 30, greens and reds right next to each other. But look at this pocket up here from Chesterton over towards New Durham. This is north of Valparaiso in the northern parts of Porter County. In this spot here where I'm seeing these very high velocity returns, I mean, we could be seeing winds gusting 60 to 70, even 80 miles per hour. The radar's picking up on 64 mile per hour winds away from the circulation. So as we've been talking about, the threat of a tornado is there, but the high wind threat continues even away from where that circulation center is located. So really a dangerous situation here as it's coming through Valparaiso. We've been talking, about the possibility of the rotation weakening, not as strong as it was before. And so the Weather Service, and I'm just getting a communication from them, they're planning to convert to a severe thunderstorm warning as this storm moves now south and east of Valparaiso over the next 5 to 10 minutes. If you recall, this tornado warning is in effect until 8:15 for Porter County. So the tornado warning will be allowed to expire, at least that's the plan right now, and a severe thunderstorm warning will replace this tornado warning and also extend it down through the rest of southeastern Porter County into parts of LaPorte County. And what's happening right now is that cluster of storms that you see to the east is really coming together right now, and that's going to form what we think will be a likely derecho that will race through northern Indiana and eventually into Ohio. You can kind of see that coming together right now as these storms kind of congeal together and form that line. We've got another tornado warning here just north of the Indiana state line, but there's the one tornado warning we have for Porter County. But notice back to the west, all quiet. Best news I can share with you. No more storms coming our way after this one moves out of northwest Indiana. So if you look at the radar again, the presentation of the radar, it's still a nasty looking storm. The rotation itself is still there. It's not as strong, not as tight as it was, say, about 10 or 5 minutes ago, but it does still have the possibility of producing some very high winds. And there's the yellow outline box that just popped on the map. So there's the look of the storm now with the continuation of a severe thunderstorm warning for Couts and southeastern Porter County here as this storm moves out of Valparaiso. Let me just see if any of my friends are texting me real quick from Valparaiso, see if anybody gave me an update how intense the rain is. But it's pretty heavy right now. I haven't got any new updates, Cheryl, from my contacts over in Valparaiso, but it is a nasty storm. If you're in LaPorte County as well, the possibility of 70 to 80 mile per hour winds will continue with this storm as it's moving to the south and to the east. And I'll show you a wider view here and put this radar in motion over the past, let's do the past 3 hours, because we were very quiet during the 4 o'clock hour, and then all of a sudden in the 5:30 time frame, we had that big storm fire up over Boone County, and that's what started it all. There it goes, and just took off as it moved through Cook County and now continues into northwest Indiana. We had a whole tornado watch for almost all of northeast Illinois just because of this one supercell thunderstorm. And that can sometimes be the case when you got this environment where the air is just so soupy, so incredibly humid, and you contrast that with some cooler air coming in off the lake, and it really developed this warm front very sharply. We had temperatures in the 70s and 60s, and by the way, these are still the current temperatures right now. You can see 70s and 60s and then 90s down to the south and to the west. That sharpened up that warm front and allowed this storm to continue to fuel up. Got a train spotter telling me of nickel-size hail at 500 north and Route 49. So that's on the north side of Valparaiso there, right along Route 49, where we got nickel-size hail reported there from one of our spotters out there in the field. So the tornado warning continues for another 3 minutes, but the severe thunderstorm warning continues, and the severe thunderstorm warning continues, and let me give you the time on that. I didn't give you that when it came out, until 8:30. So the severe thunderstorm warning continues until 8:30, another 15, 17 minutes from now for the severe thunderstorm warning here in Porter County. But again, the worst of the storm moving right through Valparaiso as we speak and continuing to drift down to the south and to the east. We've seen a number of storm reports, and when I say storm reports, I talk about high wind reports, maybe some flooding, hail reports as well. And I'll show you the number of storm reports we've gotten clustered here across the city, back into the northwest suburbs. Haven't seen any pop up yet in the south side out towards the Midway area, but there will be reports here of some tree damage probably, and hopefully nothing worse than that. But certainly we've gotten reports of high winds as that storm moved through Cook County and now drifting into northwest Indiana. Cheryl, I guess the one thing to keep in mind here is that even though this tornado warning will expire at 8:15, and there's still that circulation right here over US 30. In fact, let me go. I just don't like the look of that still. It's a broad circulation, but it's right over Valparaiso as we speak. I'm going to go right down to street level here. So there's downtown, right about here, there's the square, and then right down there is US 30, and there's State Route 2. So right in that zone is where this broad rotation is located. It's not too far from the university. I know school's out there at school, but if you know where the university sets, it's kind of just in this general area over here. It's starting to move close to the university, at least the broad circulation. Doesn't mean there's a tornado there, but the possibility of some high winds still exists with that part of the storm. And also up here in northern Porter County, still some very high winds with that part of the storm as well. So Cheryl, I got another minute here of the tornado warning, then the severe thunderstorm warning will continue until 8:30.
Yes, and still intensifying here as it moves off to the south and east. So the tornado warning has been wiped. We are clear from tornado warnings in the area. We still do have a severe thunderstorm warning here, and you can see really the last part of this now almost a line of storms forming off to the south and east, which is going to do a number to cities and states as it moves through the Ohio Valley. We had this cluster form about an hour to 2 to 3 hours ago, move through our northern counties into northwest Indiana. So we are on and seeing the far western side of this line, and it's about to be out of our immediate viewing area. But for those of you in Porter County, you're still getting in on some extremely heavy rain and some high winds with the severe thunderstorm warning here for the far southeast corner of Porter County until 8:30. So about 15 to 20 more minutes before this storm is out of our region. Extremely heavy rains, and take a look at all of the lightning associated with this. This is right on top of Valparaiso right now. So you're seeing the worst of the weather as this, I should say it's passing now just a little bit to the east of Valpo. But you can see from Roble Woods down towards Maiden area, Boone Grove as well. You're just off to the south here. Extremely heavy rain, New Durham as well, into parts of LaPorte County. So this is where we're finding the heaviest rain, the highest winds and gusts recorded today, upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour. So still the potential of some damaging winds out of this storm. So right now we are tornado free, and the strongest part of this storm is now just passing to the south and east of Valparaiso. Not only are we finding the very heavy rain, but also the potential of some hail as well. So some nickel dime size hail definitely being reported in this storm. Tornado watch has also expired for northern Illinois. That is a good sign. Remains in effect for northwest Indiana until this storm is out of here, and then that will be expired as well. Storms running into just a fueled environment. Very warm, hot temperatures here up to the north, a little bit cooler. The storm initially formed along this frontal boundary, hooked onto it, latched onto it, found its rotation as this lone soul rain thunderstorm moving on through into the northwest Indiana area, and will be storm free as we go into our Tuesday and Wednesday, but then our attention will turn to some extreme heat. Larry, what's the latest?
Yeah, Cheryl, the good news is we have no tornado warnings anywhere across the area, but you can see the storm sliding through northwest Indiana with continued severe thunderstorm warnings. High winds still a concern, 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds still a threat with those storms. I'm going to send it over to Cheryl and Rob right now because we've got some coverage of some of our reporters out in the field to bring you some of the damage that we've seen.
Yeah, Larry and Cheryl, just terrific work today. It was just before 6 o'clock tonight when this first warning hit. And then we're on the air for 2+ hours as Cheryl and Larry work to get us the latest. Our newsroom has stayed late. our reporters out and our assignment editors, working this, and
even people sending in their own video of their neighborhoods, and it's been really phenomenal. And of course, Larry and Cheryl had warned us for the past 24 hours that this was going to be severe weather, to be prepared for it, and then it just automatically hit all of a sudden.
It happened so fast, and as they showed you, all that warm, humid air, that storm just sucked it in and took it and ran with it, and these storms popped up. Our meteorologists have been tracking the storm, as we mentioned, as it moved across our area, and it was pretty fast, but it stuck around for a bit.
And there has been a lot of damage and intense damage, litter in the streets all over parts of Chicago, throughout Illinois. We want to show you some of the images that we have been getting in the past 2 hours. First, everybody, take a look at this lightning. Larry talked about it earlier. The blue indicates perhaps maybe a transformer was hit by the lightning. This is all happening at Midway Airport. And then lightning was also hitting at Wrigley Field, everybody. The Cubs say now the first pitch there is set for about 10 minutes at 8:30. When everybody got in for cover, they went under the stands because it was a heavy downpour at Wrigley Field. The Chicago Fire Department sharing some photos with us as well from the 2500 block of 65th Street, where a tree fell on a parked car. The driver was inside that car at the time. Thankfully, according to the firefighters, they've told us that no one was hurt, and that's amazing because how quickly this can happen and can change in an instant. The tree has been moved out of the way from off of the car, and the person who was inside the car, we're told, was not injured.
84-mile-an-hour wind gusts reported at O'Hare, close to 70 at Midway. This thing was packing a punch. We're getting reports of more than 74,000 ComEd customers without power right now. Our Liz Nagy in Roselle, where they're cleaning up from this evening's storm. We want to check in with her live. Oh, you can see right there, still a lot of trees down there.
And Rob, some of those ComEd customers that were without power were people who were right here on this block and the immediate blocks surrounding us. But they weren't sure whether that power was out because of a transponder that blew down the street or because of this. This is a tree that's just outside the home of the mayor of the village of Roselle. And around 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30, people who live on the street said they heard a massive crack. Well, to give you an idea of how badly this could have gone, you can see how close the tree came to falling toward the house. However, because the wind was blowing in the right direction, it just fell sort of in the median and into the street. Well, it's not in the street anymore because within about a half hour of this storm blowing through, there were people just walking up from the next block over with chainsaws. And in a matter of about 25 minutes or so, a whole assembly line of neighbors had this thing cleaned up and out of the road. That's why cars are able to pass through right now. People who live on this block said, as you can imagine, this tree crashing over made an incredibly loud noise, but nobody came out immediately because they said there was pouring rain, there was some hail falling, and their own trees were sort of bending over. This seems to be among the worst of the damage. We've taken a few laps around the village of Roselle, and this is really about the worst of it. But the mayor who lives here said he wasn't home at the time. His wife, he said, was hunkered down in the basement with their young daughter. And he was a couple blocks away at Village of Roselle Hall because they were getting ready for one of their monthly meetings. Well, at that time, he said people inside Village Hall realized that things could get bad. They all went down to the basement, and fire department officials then had to start reporting out after that. They were able to get ComEd folks here pretty quickly. The power has been restored, and the mayor has gone out just to check on residents in the area to make sure nobody else is dealing with the kind of damage they are. But fortunately, because the wind was blowing in the right direction, this tree just caused a little bit of street damage, nothing that won't be able to be cleaned up pretty quickly. And we've seen some other folks dealing with things like this, but mostly just large branches, maybe a few bent gutters here and there. But other than that, really just a lot of branches and leaves hanging around. This really could have been a little bit different, but fortunately, everything is just okay right now.
Yeah, good to hear, Liz. They took their storm precautions and got in the basement like our meteorologists always urge people to do. Yeah, sometimes the urge is to go out and look.
Take pictures and experience it. But
that.
Larry and Cheryl all night kept saying, find a safe space, safe place, safe space, and have an emergency exit route because the weather, it was moving, the rain, the heavy downpours, the wind was very strong, the lightning, it was moving very fast. So many areas, the north side of Chicago, extensive damage, Inglewood damage, and also in Roselle, as we saw Liz Nagy there.
Then over into northwest Indiana as well. This thing hit just about all all of our viewing area, and it was pretty quick. We want to check in with Larry again. By the way, Liz is reporting tonight for our 10 o'clock news. The 10 o'clock will go on late because of the NBA Finals,
right.
But look at her continuing reporting on some of the damage out in Roselle.
And that'll be on ABC 7 right after the NBA Finals. Game 5, of course, Boston and the Warriors going at it. We will be there right after the NBA Finals game.
We want to check in with Larry one last time to wrap things up for us.
Yeah, well, the good news is the activity is dying off here across Illinois, obviously, but it continues in northwest Indiana. I want to show you the loop here of the radar, though, and show you where this storm started and where it tracked from. It started up in Boone County, moved across parts of McHenry County, Cook County, clipped DuPage County. Now it's racing through northwest Indiana. And here's where the circulation and the rotation was located. We call this shear tracks, but it gives us an idea of where the storm was rotating. You can see how it began rotating back towards the Elgin area. That's what prompted the tornado warning. And then it extended into Cook County, right over O'Hare, or real close to O'Hare, right over the Midway area, stretching down the Skyway into northwest Indiana. That's where that rotation was located. Now the storm, no tornado warnings with it, but we still have severe thunderstorm warnings from over towards Hanna, stretching over towards South Bend, moving through LaPorte County. And when you look at the velocity data, there's still a little broad circulation here in southeastern Porter County, getting ready to cross the county line into LaPorte County, but it's pretty broad. It hasn't tightened up to produce a tornado. The threat is still there, though, for some very high winds as this storm continues to slide through LaPorte County. But it's just about ready to move out of Porter County. We've got severe storms continuing over towards north of Fort Wayne, heading over towards Detroit as well, and those storms will continue to slide to the south. Temperature-wise, it is warm, it is muggy, unless you're at the lakefront up into Lake County. That's where it's a little bit cooler. But these dew points, which fueled these storms that we saw today, are in the 70s. And we've been talking about the brutal heat coming the next couple of days. It's all about the humidity and the high temperatures because it is going to be very hot as we go through the next couple of days. Still seeing gusts around 45 miles per hour. Cheryl, you got a review of this storm as well with the satellite combined and just the intensity and the broad nature of a supercell like this that just spreads cloud cover across so much of the area. It's really pretty to look at that you see behind you.
It is really remarkable, and the science that will go into this and behind this, all from this one supercell thunderstorm moving through. I mean, traveling almost 100 miles from northern Illinois now into northwest Indiana, and it will continue its way off to the south and east. So just want to give you a view. You can backtrack, see how this storm formed up towards the Rockford, Illinois area, traveled along I-90 through northern Kane, northern DuPage, Cook County, and just about to clear out of Porter County, where you're still getting hit with some very heavy rain and also some high winds and hail still potentially. And then you can see here just the blossoming of these storms around our region. We had one cluster form in Wisconsin and then another cluster here in our area, and now that's forming into a line. You can see the cloud cover here that's continuing to evolve and thicken, and this line of showers and storms will continue its way off to the south and east and potentially become a damaging line of storms that could potentially bring some damaging wind to a lot of folks off to the south and east of us. But our severe threat is going down now as we head into the rest of the evening. That is good news. We do have to alert you because we do have some extreme heat that will be moving in over the next couple of days. We're talking about the hottest weather yet this year. Dangerous heat because we have heat index values that will be going upwards of 100 degrees. It's going to feel like it's in triple digits Tuesday and Wednesday with our actual high temperatures near 100. So brace for the heat, the humidity, the storm threat low until we get into Thursday. That's going to help break the heat, and we'll find some cooler temperatures. A beautiful weekend on the way. We're going to continue to monitor the storms moving out of our area and, of course, have all of the latest coverage and updates of the storm damage from around the region tonight on our news on ABC after the NBA final game. But for now, we'll send it to you, Rob and Cheryl.
Okay, take a little break.
Yeah.
Get our second wind. We can smile about it now because we're not hearing of any serious injuries. and still kind of analyzing the damage, because there is certainly storm damage in the Chicago area.
Right. The experts, of course, will come back and let us know what actually did happen meteorologically. We'll, of course, get that information from Larry and Cheryl. Cheryl says that this supercell traveled 100 miles. That is a lot of area to cover, a lot of rain to come down, a lot of lightning. If you look outside our State Street studios right now, a lot of people are back outside. It is 78 degrees at 8:30 at night, but you can still see the sky is not dark yet. It's still a little bit yellow, kind of oranges. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
There, look at that.
Why.
Great job.
That's
Thanks
why.
for pulling it up for us, because we're looking outside and people have come back outside because they were running heavily for cover. Like at Wrigley, they ran under the stairs and under the stands because it was so much rain coming down such a quickly. That's a gorgeous sunset, Larry. Have you heard from anybody, your friends in Valparaiso? Have they text you back to let you know what's happening there?
Haven't got a text back from my friend yet. So.
Good. Hey, some of that's good news, right?
Yeah.
80,000 without power now,
time. Wow.
according to ComEd. Just a few of the communities, as we were watching the coverage, that had storms move through: Franklin Park, Schaumburg, Roselle, Westchester, O'Hare, Midway, Elmwood Park, Maywood. A lot of people felt this and watched us, hopefully, and took their precautions, as now we have to assess just how bad the damage is.
And thank goodness the warnings were there. People were running to their safe spaces. And we saw actual damage from Roselle with Liz Nagy. We saw the damage in Inglewood with the Chicago firefighters. And of course, on the north side of Chicago, the Cubs have sent us a message that first pitch is now moved to 8:30. So that's just in about 45 seconds from now.
Right.
It'll be hot summer baseball night, and it's going to be a very soggy field. I'm sure they got to run the cover over the field before it all came down fast. We don't know, but it's going to be a little wet.
Get them to play some
the
baseball.
seats are going to be wet there at
Look
Wrigley.
at that.
Yeah.
Live picture of Wrigley Field as we wrap things up. Now we have to worry about the oppressive heat that's coming this week, because it's going to be dangerous. The city taking precautions, and we have not seen heat and humidity like this all year. I mean, the humidity, I think this would be about as warm as it gets.
And the heat indices is what really is very uncomfortable for everybody. And we talk about that for Check on Your Senior Citizens. We're going to have a lot more, everybody, after the NBA Finals, Game 5, Boston and Golden State. We'll see you at 10 o'clock on ABC 7.
This has been an ABC 7 AccuWeather update from Eyewitness News.
Alex?
Alex is off for 2 weeks.
Well, that's the thing. I really want to see if I can leave, because my kids are kind of home right now. I would think so. The storms are over, and there's not really nothing for me to do. Right. Yeah, that's true, because it's going to go really late.
Yeah. And we not going to break up.
Okay. What's his? I call Doug? Okay. Thank you.
His extension is 7418.
I've got his cell phone. I'll just call his cell.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.